Under items for individual consideration, we will switch 5.2 key innovation question and answer and 5.3 fish report. Just switch them. We'll do the fish report first. Under items for individual consideration, 5.12 will become the investigations. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second. Second by Ms. Hagan. Agenda adopted. Comments? Mr. Doug Brown? All who approve the agenda, please raise your hand.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Madam Superintendent and Council, good evening. I'm here this evening as the Executive Director of the Madison County Development Council, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I want to spend my allotted time talking with you about the inseparable link between economic development and education. I'm also here to ask you to carefully consider the key innovation solution proposal and the potential purchase of school property by Mr. Kelly last. The purpose of economic development work is to create opportunity through efforts to bring a stronger local economy. The Madison County Development Council strives to create conditions that facilitate the recruitment of business and industry in Madison County. New businesses and industries bring new jobs, increases in population and enrollment, and a more robust tax base and fund the creation of viable and vibrant communities. The successes of economic development efforts and the vitality of the school district are inextricably woven together. Economic development impacts the funding of our school district. As we're well aware, the FEFP is driven by student enrollment. Fewer students lead to less funding, more students lead to more funding. When economic opportunity is limited, people leave Madison, families leave, enrollment declines, funding is reduced, and that funding decline happens regardless of fixed costs like facilities, transportation, staffing, and more. In short, the costs for the district do not shrink as the revenues are reduced, and that puts a strain on the local economic development conditions also impact the required local RLE portion of that FEFP funding. RLE is tied to property taxes. With a limited commercial and industrial tax base, there is less local revenue to support schools. New businesses and industries broaden and strengthen the tax base. In short, the county prospers and the school district benefits. When jobs are created through new businesses and industries, families stay. New families move into the county, school enrollment stabilize or grow, and funding becomes more stable and predictable. But whether we realize it or not, each one of our students will ultimately ask the same question about their future, and that is, can I build a life in Madison County? I know this because I'm the father of 2 MCH graduates who asked that question. If the answer to that question is no, then often we lose them. We export those graduates to our loss and to the gain of other communities. We lose their potential leadership. We lose the families that many of them will go on to establish, and we lose their contributions to the economy that could have been contributed to our own economic vitality. Employees, leaders, taxpayers, gone because we lost in real life in the community. So how do we turn those tables? How do we turn them? No, I can't build a life in Madison County. Yes, I can real estate in Madison County to take advantage of the opportunities for me and my children and grandchildren. We do it by aligning education and economic development. We provide outstanding basic education. Where we can, we give much more attention to aligning our teachers.
If you can finish the sentence. Finish your sentence.
Yeah, where we can, we give much more attention to aligning our curriculum with real world skills linked to the local economy.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I know we don't comment on this, but Madam Chair, may I comment on this? Mr. Dove?
Yes, ma'am.
We've already taken a vote on this.
Okay.
And our vote was 3-2.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've made our decision.
Okay.
You're $1 late.
Okay.
So we've made our decision.
Okay.
And just because you bring it before us,
yes,
doesn't make us change our minds.
Understood.
Here's the thing about it. We're not in the business of creating jobs. Have you taken this to the county commission?
Oh, yeah.
And here's the thing about it. We believe in Senator Thomas, and we believe in Representative Kent. And a program just as this has been done in Texas, Florida, and it's thriving, and it's good. And we have not been promised 25% of a property that's going to be sold. So, our decision has been made.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Consent agenda. 4.2 minutes, 4.3 field trip requests and staff travel, 4.4 fundraisers, 4.5 grant approvals. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Tammy, 5-0. Items for individual consideration. 5.1 fiscal year 2024-25 audits, Mr. Butcher.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As always, thank you for allowing me to perform the audit again. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. I think Walter had sent out electronically financial statements and also may have presented hard copies.
Thank you.
And also I have 2 bound sets. I know you prefer electronic.
No, that's fine.
It's clear. The hard copy.
We always give out hard copies because sometimes
I have one. I have them. Thank you.
Okay, good. And so what I'm going to do, as usual, instead of going through all the details,
Use the microphone.
as usual, instead of going through all the details of the actual audit report, which has the opinion and all that, I'm going to pass out a handout that summarizes that in the sake of time, so we're not here till 9 or 10 o'clock. Not my first rodeo. I'm going to stay till 9 o'clock. I'm going to come back and look. Pass that. Just pass it. We'll start the other way. And got to remember to speak in the microphone. This basically summarizes what's been presented in the actual audit reports. Audit report that was previously sent a separate opinion and set up financial statements, set up notes to those financial statements as required by auditing standards. So for this handout, I'm going to walk through some of the highlights of that because it's even long. It's much longer than normal because there are more findings this year than normal. There was a lot going on. More turnover, consolidation, and the records weren't easily accessible. Let me go through this. Okay, so we performed the audits on the 5 different schools. We did have 5 last year through this audit period, through June 30th of 25. The audits were performed in accordance with government auditing standards, which is, of course, a higher standard than regular audits. We incurred 251 hours to perform these audits. We issued an unmodified opinion, which means that's a clean opinion. An adverse opinion means there would be much bigger problems. We encountered no significant difficulties or disagreement with school personnel as we went through this. But I will say that it was more difficult this past year because of all the changes that were taking place. We were not given full access, not should say given. There were problems within the software program and so forth. So we did not have access until November of 25. By the time we get rolling with that, performance of other audits, it comes engagements and so forth. What we would like to do this coming year is to try to really get our foot in the door by July, and so we can kind of move a little bit quicker, which is better for the school and also, part of our schedule.
We normally start in July.
Sometimes we actually start doing some field work, preliminary work in June.
Okay, what was the problem this year? That he couldn't get the access?
I believe it's not having the bookkeeper, or the bookkeepers available.
That was one problem, but the problem really was just the software problem, the IT problem. And Walter probably can address that.
And I know some of the staff issues under
Yeah.
that.
So we worked primarily through Tracy Truesdale. And once we get to a certain point, like, we may send out a request and, sometimes we need to literally stop, put things aside until we can get back to it. So after maybe a few requests or something, there were some problems that we understood, then we contact Walter Holly, pushes it through. Those are some of the issues. And then some of the inquiries that like I said, that we requested were slow, just because records were a little bit more difficult to obtain. And I guess everybody was consolidating and more turnover. The more turnover, it's like less accountability. Someone else wants to point to the other person. And that was it's kind of a general response. We turn to the second page. This is a summary of our internal control findings. And all of our findings are broken down into three categories. Either they're material weakness, which is a deficiency or combination of deficiencies in internal control for each of the schools, that there's a reasonable possibility that a material misstatement of each of the schools' financial statements will have a major material misstatement, and it won't be prevented, it won't be detected on a timely basis. Another type of finding is a significant deficiency, and that's what we've labeled all these as. Significant deficiency is basically a single deficiency or a combination of deficiencies that's less severe than a material weakness, but still strong enough that we need to note it. And then the third is an instance of non-compliance. And some of these findings can be just an instance of non-compliance, or it can be a non-compliance issue and a significant deficiency. So all of these have been noted as both. So if you look at kind of the middle of that chart, which says total number of findings, we've got a column for each of the schools. The high school, we had 5 findings. That doesn't mean 5 instances. Sometimes we may have had 11 or 12 instances of one type of finding that we grouped in one finding. So the high school had 5, the central school had 2, Pinetta 2, Greenville 5, and Lee Elementary 3. So the total of all those findings, or the types of findings, this year we had 17. That last line item, the 24 number of findings, totaled 11. So you can see significant escalation in the number of findings. So, and I didn't look back at 23, but it's slowly been growing and building for the last few years. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through this whole handout, because there's, well, I won't say too many, there's a lot. So I'm going to highlight some of the key ones. So if you turn to page 3, and I'm going to hit on the more detailed, the high school and the central school. That's what we've got standing at this point. Okay, under the high school, the first one was labeled as a significant deficiency. This is where disbursements were made without any invoices or receipts or supporting documentation. And some of these are certainly more significant than others, but there were 12 different instances where funds were dispersed where there was no receipt or no invoice. And keep in mind, we do not test 100% of the transactions, but with all these that have numerous smaller transactions, we test a much higher percentage than we would in every transaction, $1,000 or something. So for the high school, we had 12 instances where there was no supporting documentation. And of course, that's a clear violation of state red book and also the state here in accordance with this school district policy manual. We state the sections of that in detail. The next significant deficiency is where transfers were made between internal funds without support. And that's basically forbidden as well. There needs to be full support, backup for that transfer. So this is a transaction. So in the high school case, there were 5 that we reviewed, that did not properly, there wasn't anything to properly support it. There was, let's see, there were, let me read this real quick here. Okay, so out of the 5, there were 3, there was no documentation whatsoever. Then there were 2 that was supported by a journal entry proof sheet. That's not adequate documentation. That's just kind of indicating what took place. And keep in mind, any of the transfers, well, any kind of disbursement, and the transfer is really disbursement, basically, out of all the funds of the hospital, which there's just probably roughly, I want to say roughly about, well, they've kind of narrowed down this past year, but they're probably still at probably 30 or 40 different types of funds. Funds from one club account to another, it's just like a disbursement. It's got to be supported by a reason. And the purpose of that is to just keep someone from going in and just making a transfer. Like we overspent in this organization, we're going to move to this organization. And that you can't do because all of these funds really stand independently. They're either club accounts or a special group of students, and all these funds are considered. There's a new GASB that came out, Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncement that came out about 3 or 4 years ago. And we actually went through, we addressed it with the board and how you can handle it because either they're true custodial funds or they're kind of independent funds. And so there were some policy changes in the policy manual and also the state director as well. We were in contact with the general's office and also the auditor for that particular year. And these are considered fiduciary funds. The school principal, the bookkeeper, and so forth are here just to, they're in a fiduciary capacity, the school is, of holding those funds in accordance to the purpose of the fund, and it has to be, really, any transfers have to be authorized by that, let's say, club or something. Now, it's supposed to, in accordance with the school board policy manual, they shall be approved by the appropriate organizational officers, has multi-layers there to be able to approve those changes. The third deficiency I want to mention to you, and this is one that's been common through the years. The high school is not using pre-numbered receipts as required. So when money comes in, there should be a pre-numbered receipt that ties to the ledger, and the pre-numbered, they're pre-printed. So what that does is prevent, let's say, let's just say the Beta Club, for instance, turns in $400 for a fundraising project. They turn it in, that would, and if there's a pre-numbered receipt for that, all the funds should be accounted for. You would hope that the bookkeeper would not come in and take the money, put it in their pocket, and take that receipt that's not pre-numbered and toss it, and kind of could rewrite one or whatever. So that's why they're pre-numbered. So you have to have, accountability. So anyway.
Let me ask you something. For instance, if we give an organization a donation, of course, this might not be in your area anyway, but I do wonder myself, is that money going into that fund? I mean, do we have any way of knowing that, or it's crossed my mind, maybe no one's fault, but I'm thinking, I hope that, when I hand the check over, I'm thinking, I hope they get that money.
It goes to the right place. And that's why, if it's given to, like the student that turns it in, or if it's given to the person who's club account or whatever. And that's where you get into the pre-numbered receipt. It goes to the right person. So sometimes, for instance, we see it transferred from funds, and just in this moment, it went into this account, but it really should have gone into that account. A transfer is perfectly feasible. accept. But what you don't want is earned by the Lady Club, it goes into the basketball or something like that.
How can we prevent that?
By having good controls,
Good
and you're all
control.
adhered to.
Mm-hmm.
If you have leaks in that control system, then the whole system breaks down.
Madam Chair, like Dr. Cunningham, that's part of what she was doing.
Yeah.
Dr. Cunningham.
So you don't want 80% participation, you want 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and I'll go over in a minute, these all need to be addressed. Let's see, I want to back up. I got an example. I skipped over the top of the page under Madison County High School, the first. I have an example on page, if you turn to page 11 and 12. As an example for not having supporting documentation. On page 11, okay, we have basically, so disbursement advices, part of the check copy, $9,400, and went to HUL video streaming.
Huddle.
Yeah, Huddle. Okay. So there was no supporting documentation. You know, and there was also no requisitions for that check. Quite often that's done in the spur of the moment. Somebody needs a check and they need to get it on out. Sometimes they think they're going to get support later. It has to be done prior. Yeah.
So these amounts were taken out of each of those individual funds?
Yes. And this, there's another example on the bottom of the page. Example 3, then the beginning of example 4, there's a $438 debit card transaction. It was not supported by
So we need to just get our head.
yes, you really do.
Mm-hmm. That's what we need to do.
So let's turn to the next page, page 4. We're still on the high school. Again, just trying to outline the biggest items. On page 4, top of the page, the deficiency funds were not deposited to the bank within 5 business days. And so in one instance here, the funds that were collected throughout July were deposited on August 1st. And Florida Red Book requires 5 days. I have to look back. I think y'all may require 2 days, and one time y'all required 10 days. You know, I think we changed that to loosen up a little bit, particularly if you got out of elementary school or a basketball tournament that evening. You really can't deposit the same day. But in this case, if you go to page 9 of the example we just printed out, hard to decipher a little bit, but there was $15,179 from July 8th to July 4th. That's a lot of money held until August 1st. And if I'm not mistaken, a number of years ago, there were some funds that went missing a number of years ago. And so we thoroughly discussed that. You know, you don't want to take funds and put them in a debt drawer, even though it's locked, you know, or not locked, or whatever. So that's why it's the even the state acknowledges that that can be a problem. That's why they have that high rate. The second one on page 4. There were 2 instances that we found where transactions did not meet competitive bidding requirements. And there's the school board policy states competitive bidding is encouraged whenever practical, but however, no purchase may be made by school under $1,000, including group home, if you don't have at least 2. So, Next, let's move to the central school. Any questions on that? Just feel free to interrupt. So, on the central school, we have a few that I'm going to go over. The first deficiency is that funds were held by the sponsor outside the school office. That's kind of the same thing about the 5-day deposit. And there were 3 instances here. I don't have an example of that. And I didn't print this out, but I believe the school board policy is 2 days, the state. That's what it says. The bottom one, the deficiency, schools not using pre-number receipts, which we already addressed as well. So those are high school and central school. Turning to page 5, we got Lee Elementary, just to go over a couple important things here. Kind of the same issue. The first one, funds were not deposited to the bank within 5 business days as required by the state Board of Education. And some of the funds were held in the office for up to 20 days. The second item, the deficiency funds were dispersed prior to the completion of the check requisition. So throughout the years, we found, all kinds of things where it's easy sometimes to detect there's approval after the fact or weeks later or whatever. So, in this case, let me see. So checks were issued prior to the check requisition. Somebody's got to request that check, so it's not just the bookkeeper's decision to send it to whoever, media company, whatever. There's usually, it's harder to have, well, let me say this, your internal controls are stronger when there's at least 2 people involved. There's some checks and balances, and it all goes into one person's hand. It's too easy to cover up. So, let's see. The third one under Lee Elementary, and transfers were not properly. There were 7 transfers that we included in our testing that were not supported by proper documentation showing the approval or the reasoning for the transfer. It was just done. So this is in violation of order, as well. So, I'm gonna skip a little bit here. Let's turn to page 6. I'll go over one more. In the middle of the page, this is some of the others are just outright violation of the internal control. Or not understanding the policy, or not maybe shouldn't say not wanting to, but in clear violation for whatever reason. This is more of a careless error, I would assume. But you don't know because there's a breakdown in the control process. But the middle one, it's a significant deficiency like all these others. But the deposit amount does not match the total of the board money spent. Obviously, that's a problem. And I've got an example here. So if you turn to page 10, so this is from Greenville. So this is a monies collected report where, let's say, these are students, what this students, they've turned in the money. This total for deposit says 120. Actual total should have been 225. So $120 was included in the total deposit. So was that a careless mistake? I don't know. There's not some, supporting evidence to prove it one way or another. I think those are the main highlights to review. Not take up too much of your time. Yeah. So if we just kind of step back, regroup, take a look at the overall picture. The main problems are timeliness of deposit, approval, absolutely. Which includes not only having an invoice, but the proper person submitting the check requisition, that approval process is imperative, or you have a breakdown in internal controls, and then what you have, you know, because it doesn't take someone to, let's say, I'll use the terms, taking funds, unauthorized, stealing, you know, it doesn't take 100% of the transactions. All you need is 1 out of 20, or 1 out of 50, whatever. So that's why those controls are there for a reason. They're established. They all have to be adhered to. And so we got the free number of receipts. We got support and documentation. We got the, which includes not only checks written but transfers. Very important. And I think those are probably the most.
Then you would say that these are simple procedures. I mean, very simple procedures. And you follow and should be followed. There's nothing difficult about it. Just simple procedures, making sure that you document in the correct number, reporting money when you're supposed to, and making sure that you have a requisition. These are simple procedures, so why are we not doing it?
It's simple, but you wonder why. And I was gonna say, I sat out there for 5 years when I was in the audience listening to you, 10 years here, and it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
It's the
And
same every year.
And it's simple.
This past year has escalated. There's more, and part of it is due to consolidation. If you want to try to put a finger on part of it, the biggest issue I think is just the turnover in staff.
Yeah.
When you have 3 people doing this one job, I mean, 3 different people for the year, and one doesn't explain everything to the next or train, and before you know it, they're trying to do the best they can. But I think to help remedy this, I mentioned it to Walter last week, it would be advisable that and we did this a number of years ago, where we have a training session or 2 and review the standards with the principal in attendance and the bookkeeper in attendance. And if there's a changeover in that, you need to readdress and go through the same thing. And I think that would alleviate a lot of the issues. Hopefully one day, the school paper, you know, if that was, I think we don't want that, and I don't want to have to present that. So we want to try to have these procedures in place too. And so I think just an education process will be so helpful. And I can get with Walter, and either we can present it, you and the bookkeepers, or I can assist in any way.
And when we do this, we should make sure that it's implicated and followed, because we've had this before. We had that big problem with Greenville.
That's right.
We've done it.
And you know, it seems through the years, it seems like it switched from school to school to school. And sometimes if one bookkeeper was moved to another school, well, then that problem is if there's
Money, you're discussing money for the children.
yeah, that's right. And so again, the school district, y'all as board members, and y'all oversee the whole process of principals, other employees. It's imperative that it's used for that purpose, and you are in a fiduciary capacity just to oversee it. You know, to basically make sure there aren't problems, because it is their money.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Boucher.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the fiscal audit, the fiscal year 2024-25 audits?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 24-25 audit.
We have a motion by Ms. Hagan, second. Second by Ms. Knight. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed?
Okay, thank
Thank
you
you very much. All right, we'll have the fish report, Mr. Ginn.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. What we have in front of you is school year 25-26 fish report. There are 4 major changes in it. You'll see that we do not own the annex across the street over here anymore. That's been relinquished. It's off of our fish report. The 3 outlying schools is still on there because we do still retain the ownership of those 3 schools. What you won't see on there is student stations. All student stations have been removed from those schools, and it reflects that in the The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the utilization report that I sent out with it. With the consolidation, Madison County Central School is for total students, permanent student stations is 1,637. We have right now 796 students, FTE students at that school, which puts us at a 49% utilization on that school. So we're about halfway. The school, we can handle a lot more kids in that school. The high school, it's got 855 student stations in the school. We've got 436 kids at the high school. That puts us at 51% utilization of that school. That's just, I wanted to bring that to y'all's attention, just that we've got a lot of faith in schools that's, for as far as student stations is concerned. Yeah, but other than that, that is pretty much in a nutshell what the we got recertified you. So my suggestion is to certify this to y'all.
Okay, so basically, we've got about 50% occupancy in each school right now.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there's room for, there's a lot of room.
If you got any kids, send them to us.
Well,
I don't know now.
any questions? Thank you, Mr. Gann. Do we have a motion to approve this report?
I move to approve.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second. Second by Ms. Knight. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Key innovation, question and answer.
So we have Ms. Karen Hoffman here again, so you've already approved her contract. So the reason we flipped the fish report first, so, and having some conversations with her, and especially after the DOE facilities came to work on our facilities with us and remove the, update our state stations, remove the annex. So, and then talking to Ms. Hoffman and talking about moving forward, it was even suggested by DOE facilities, they are very familiar with her program, that we have a lot of capacity at our high school. And she's all for the program, talking to facilities, they're very much for the program, but we need to do this at our current high school. We do not need to expand to our vacant facilities, so we really need to look. You pretty much look, we have half our high school that's empty. So we are trying to attract our students back to our high school, our 9 through 12. So Karen's here to talk about that, and that's what our whole program is, to expand our CTE programs there, and then even in the middle school. So Karen, I will now turn it over to you. Hold on.
I think so. All right, try now. Ms. Karen.
Try now, Miss Karen. No.
How about now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Perfect. We got the perfect combination there. Great to be with you all tonight, and thank you for bringing me on after the fish report, because I think it's very helpful to assess the current set of givens of the occupancy of what you have within the district, and what's possible, what's plausible, and probable. We were talking when I was with you last month, we were able to go through some of the programs that would really work well to house and actually attract more students Space Academy, along those lines. So, we shared some of those. There was, agri-science with the technology, digital information technology. We also were, talking about the power and energy technology, and then robotics. Those are the key industries that you already have existing programs. That would help significantly if we could draw more attention to that and place some of those into space academies and the existing high school to draw more students into those programs, which is needed, and actually draw more students back into the district. There would be even an opportunity to grow and even set the stage for programs in the middle school in your K-8 school, knowing that you have capacity in both of those. You're at 50 or 49% in one, 51% in the other. That really gives a great opportunity for growth and expansion, and promoting that, but actually even broadening the opportunities and offerings within each of those schools to attract students back in. One of the questions that I wanted to share with you as well, there was a couple funding streams that are possible for this. And you have, one of it is that's available through the state is Perkins funding that would come through the state, and that is the whole purpose of that is actually to build up workforce development programs within school districts. Another funding stream that is available through the state is the workforce capitalization grant through the Department of Education also. And both of those funding streams going through you have to have a strategic plan for this. What do you want to use the funds for? What programs do you want to either grow, expand, or launching a new program? Once you have that strategic plan in place, the application becomes very robust because you're also bringing in letters of support for that. Those funds could actually be made available in this next school year. And then the last one that would be is going for a budget request. And because of the new governor coming in, whoever's elected in November, and then session will start in March, ending in May. If you go for a line item budget request, then that goes through and it gets approved by both chambers. And if it dodges the veto pen of the governor, those funds would be made available in the school year of 27. So there's two funding streams that would be available in this next year with a strategic plan to present so that it would be able to receive the funds and the blessing of the state. And then the third one that would be available if, with that success would be available in the school year of 27. The goal would to start with is to actually bring more of the students back into these programs and into the district, filling the available space in those the two particular schools. So that's the initial part. I mean, you're looking at once we receive this report, the FISH report, that helps significantly give a great assessment of where we are at in the district and what is available. The fact that you have space available at these schools, actually, I see that as a positive because then you can actually make strategic moves to grow in those programs that would really meet the needs of what's going on within the economic development of the community and also what we know is coming down the pike in industry within North Florida, going from the Panhandle even over to Jacksonville. So that's a quick recap with a little extra information for you all regarding funds, regarding part of the initial strategic plan on how to bring students back into the district and actually bring more students into these programs that are equipping them for life. When they graduate, it's more than a diploma, but the certifications that they receive. Another funding stream that we didn't mention that I just is that the certifications, if they are on the the CAPE list, which is funded by the state. Each of the certifications that are CAPE funded would bring workforce dollars back into the district for every certification that is earned. So that is helpful in the sustainability of the existing programs and should we decide to launch new programs. So with that, I'm open for questions, discussion, and it's great to see you all virtually. I apologize. Could not get there. We had Easter yesterday, so this is the best way I could do it.
Thank you for that information, Ms. Hoffman. So as you heard from the fish report, we have a lot of space in our schools, unused space. And of course, I'm against, using Pine Island Lee. I made that perfectly clear the last meeting that we had. But I'm glad that you are able to see a plan for utilizing those schools.
It does, when I'm looking at particular, in a district or particular schools, there's a part of me that I'm grateful for there being available space because that does allow for that growth and expansion in the programs that are really vital. And even in development of lab space. And the state is very favorable to building that out to the specifications that are necessary to equip our students. So if you're in a good situation with the existing schools, both with the K-8 and with the high school, and dealing with, I would say that's the first steps. We need to be able to draw students back into the district and increase the enrollment into these programs. Increasing that also will, like I said, more certifications that are earned, more workforce dollars will come back into the district as well.
Any other comments from board members?
No, I just thank you for taking the time to come to us virtually, just to clarify, so that we could, have a better understanding of whether or not you could utilize the current facility. So I just want to say thank you for making yourself available to clear up some of those questions that we had.
Thank you.
If I may, when Ms. Hoffman and I were talking earlier, she did not realize the underutilization of our current facilities. So when we were talking, she said, realizing the underutilization, usually you're capped and do not have the space. So therefore you would expand to other vacant facilities. So when we talked about it, it makes perfect sense that we would try to utilize our existing space and try to bring back students, either target our homeschool students, target other charter school students that the charter program cannot offer a particular program we are offering. So therefore they want to come and enroll in the program, try to work with North Florida College to offer a new program, and therefore we're attracting students back into our schools. So that's how we would strategically try to fill up these seats, because we do have a lot of vacant seats. We have empty classrooms. So we have to figure out how to fill up these empty classrooms. So I would go back to my recommendation, the prior meeting. Yes, we do want to partner with her. We want to save on transportation costs, especially for students that could not participate in capstone courses and things like that as part of this, but I would recommend we do this at our existing sites. And therefore, going back to the vacant facilities, let's look at trying to either open back up the RFP or try to sell them. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Pickles. Do we have a motion?
Well, the contract was already approved.
Correct.
So I think we just need to clarify that we want to move forward with the vacancy in the existing buildings instead of the two outlying schools. So we will just need to obviously revisit whether we do it this meeting or the next meeting, how we want to proceed moving forward with the two empty buildings.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight to utilize Madison County Central School and Madison County High School for the key innovations. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Andy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve Madison County School District.
Ms. Karen.
Thank you. All right. 5.4, curriculum resources. Dr. Holmes.
Afternoon. Evening. What I have presented for your approval are 4 items. First, starting with our summer school. As you know, we are required to host certain summer programs, which include the 3rd grade reading camp, the BPK summer bridge for our rising kindergartners, and our ESY for our ESE students. And in addition to that, because of the need within the community, our driver's ed program, which is, from what I'm hearing, is very robust, and we want to continue that. So what I have presented to you is what the goals are for those particular programs. And with your approval, we will want to move forward with advertising for staff in those positions to move forward to go ahead and implement those programs for this summer. With the existing summer school dates that are already approved on the schedule.
So you want approval to hire staff for summer school?
Yes, we need to advertise those positions.
For advertising? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the curriculum resources.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second by Ms. Hagan. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 5. Thank you very much.
We also have, with our instructional materials, we are up for adoption for our ELA and reading resources for our 5-year cycle. What I have presented to you are the results of the review by both the staff, as well as we have met the board requirement of having that publicly available for public viewing on the school website for that 20-day period. That information was posted for the public to review those resources that we were considering back in February. As well as I also solicited information via survey from the teachers after they had an opportunity to review those materials. And what you see before you are the results of those. I did not receive any feedback from anyone who objected to any of the materials. So again, for the K through 5 ELA adoption, we will be looking at switching from currently we use the Wonders curriculum through McGraw-Hill. We will be switching to Benchmark Advanced for K-5. We would remain using the Savvis learning for the 6 through 12, which is the current edition that we're using. We just obviously update to the newest edition. And for reading, we are currently using the Read 180 strictly for the high school, but also we are in need of a dedicated intervention for middle school intensive reading. So we will be expanding that to include the middle school for reading. So those were the results. The other materials that were up for adoption and review this year were the CTE programs. I did reach out to all of the CTE teachers and solicited their feedback as far as whether they were satisfied with what they were using. No one indicated to me that they wanted to make any changes, so we will be just renewing those current adoptions that we're using. They're satisfied with those materials and the results that they are using. So I would just need your approval. If you approve these selections, then I would move forward with requesting the official quotes and have that information available as far as the cost of those adoptions.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the instructional materials?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan. Any questions, concerns, comments? All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you very much.
The other 2 items are just items for your consideration, just as, and again, keeping with our initiatives of being more transparent and streamlining our processes. There was an existing enrollment and withdrawal guide that was already available in the county that was being utilized. All I did was basically update that to make sure it was in line with the current statute. Again, we will be implementing that again to make sure we have some consistency in reference to the enrollment and withdrawal process of students. Because what we are identifying is that we've had some parents in some situations where they've indicated or expressed that they've had some challenges getting kids enrolled in a timely fashion. So again, this would serve to address that, as well as, again, with our school counseling services, again, providing a document that would be able to assist our relatively novice counseling corps with helping them to better give them a document that will help guide their way of work. So again, those two things we wanted you to be aware of, that these were things that we would be moving forward with implementation. And we just wanted you, that was for your information, for you to be aware of that. That's the moves that we were taking and moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. 5.5 job description updates, Dr. Pickles.
We were asked to pull this from the last meeting until this meeting because I know several of you wanted to revisit this. So these were the ones that were actually posted for review. So I do know that a couple of you have revisions you would like to make. So if you will let me know what those are.
In that job description, did we upgrade the assistant principals to 12 months?
We did not discuss those. That's what this meeting is for.
Okay, now we can get on with it then. That's the question.
I would suggest that we keep that job description as as a 12-month position.
I agree.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right. I've done a lot of checking around about different districts. I called 3 of the 4 principals from that were here, and I think they tried the 11-month position one time. This fellow told me, and it didn't really work out really well. So everybody around us, their assistant principals are 12 months. I think that's for our kids, not for them. For our kids, I think that's important that they have that time that be able to plan out the year, get things ready. I know we said, and we did last year when we said that this first year we're going to go back to 11 months. We did say that, but I just think that it's not right. I don't think it ever be the right time, but I think it is right now.
Ms. Hagan?
And especially when, we did discuss 11 months. And then we thought about it, and we got input from staff and principals at the school, and people who had held these positions before. And my understanding is what was outlined forever 12 months. It should be.
Ms.
I concur. There's just too much planning that goes into the 7 months. And to put all of that weight onto just the principal solely, especially as the school is consolidated and much larger. It's not like she's planning for 400 students. She's planning for 8, 9, 1,100 students, however many we have. So to put the burden of that on just one person, I think is going to be a bit much.
Do we have a motion to move from 11 months to 12 months for the assistant principals?
I move to. Well, it's currently at 12 months, so
We're
To keep
going
it.
to keep it.
I think the motion would be to approve the job description, but 12 months.
So, if I may, before you make the motion, if we're gonna go to 12 months, I would like to divide them at least at Central School and have one for curriculum and data and then one for discipline. At least just this past 2 weeks, we've had school level issues to where parents have actually filed grievances here at the district level because school admin have failed to address their issues, so they have filed grievances here. So I would suggest we have then a 12-month AP of discipline and a 12-month AP of curriculum or curriculum and data.
Superintendent, may I ask, can we just schedule a workshop for this so that we can weigh the pros and cons of each
That's
position?
fine.
Or wouldn't that be up to the principal to do that?
I just think we needed dedicated because there was not a dedicated individual, at least at Central, they worked as a team.
Right.
And there needs to be a dedicated individual working over discipline and then a dedicated individual working more over the curriculum and data.
And sometimes the workload is more on one than it is on the other. So that's why we should have that workshop, so that when it's a slight time for one, that other person can pitch in and help.
Do we have a motion to approve the job description with 12 months?
I think Thompson.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
I second.
Second by Ms. Knight. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0.
And then we will workshop.
Okay. 5.6 personnel changes.
Were there any questions as far as the coordinator?
I actually would like to speak on this one. I've looked over the job description for the coordinator of ESE and student services, and as a parent of an ESE student, I feel like this is a position that we cannot be lax in as far as the qualifications. There are a lot of laws and requirements for students that are ESE, and especially if they're not receiving the proper services, those types of things. One of the things that I think that bothers me about this qualification description is that we can have a coordinator of ESE and student services that is certified in ESE education, educational leadership, a school principal, or a related field. I feel like to be a coordinator and, over ESE and student services, it should be a requirement. It should not be a or. So just me personally, I would like to see the qualifications beefed up a little bit as far as our ESE coordinator goes, just from the perspective of a mother of a child who is ESE. This is not something that we can take lightly as far as all of the services, the laws, the things that these students are supposed to receive. I would like to see this job description change.
Me too.
And there are many.
Because you can have somebody who doesn't have all these qualifications that they need, and then there's a person who's hired has qualifications, and then they're taking instructions from someone who doesn't have the qualifications, and they know these qualifications, and the other person doesn't. So yes, that job description needs to be updated up.
I personally, I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I personally feel like we should have a concrete line in that job description that says a minimum requirement of, I would say, one of the things that I typed out earlier while I was reviewing this was, just for some examples, I would like to see this coordinator have experience as in an instructional or leadership role within a ESE program prior to their taking on this role. They need to have either been an ESE teacher, a staffing specialist, a coordinator, or an administrator for a minimum of 3 to 5 years. If you're going to be over a whole department of ESE teachers and staffing specialists, you need to walk in their shoes for a few years before you do that job.
They'll have the decision making.
Absolutely. So I would like to see that job description drastically changed.
And Madam Chair,
Ms. Knight?
I know we had this on here. The question that I have is, we also had mentioned in these job descriptions that we were going to revisit potentially moving a assistant principal back to the high school. That is not being addressed as well. So I think we need to, consider going back to a principal, AP, and a dean at the high school so that we can properly support the high school as well.
Well, once we get these addressed, then I will change the staffing plan. I gotta get these fixed first, so then I will bring that back.
Thank you.
Yes, I just have to get these fixed first. So I will make some of those changes and we will workshop this during our next workshop.
Thank you, Dr. Pickles.
Thank you.
We are not voting. We are going to.
Okay.
But prior to a vote, I would like to see those proposed changes.
We can workshop it.
Wait a minute. Devin, we did vote on the 12 months.
We did, but the ESE.
We have a motion and a second.
We did.
We did.
Yes, we did.
I just didn't write it down.
Personnel
We
change,
voted on the 12 months principle. We didn't vote on the ESC.
Right. We'll workshop
we're gonna workshop it. 5.6, personnel changes, Mr. Copeland.
Good evening.
it. Good evening.
We have 4 individuals for your consideration tonight. Under non-instructional employee recommendations, Ms. Liz Rossler. She's currently a sub bus driver. Our proposal is to move her into a permanent position. Alex Fongone. Alex, to be the IT assistant network manager, that's a position we've done that's been vacant for 6+ months, and have a strong candidate there. So we ask that you consider each of those for one for a transfer and one for appointment. Have one resignation and one retirement. Mr. Melody Robinson, Central School resigned, and then Miss Rowena West is retiring, but she is going to make it through this contract period. And so those are the 4 recommendations for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Do we have a motion to approve the personnel changes?
I move to approve the personnel change.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any comments? I was glad to see Liz Rossler come back. Very good, very good. All in favor, raise your hand.
And we do have 2 volunteers for approval in the next phase for your consideration.
We have a motion to approve the volunteers.
And who are those volunteers? The general public. No?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Renelia Collins, and if I pronounce this name incorrectly, I'll give you the merit. Zalayla Livingston.
We have a motion to approve the volunteers.
I move to approve the volunteers.
We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
Thank y'all.
5.7, consideration of Greenville Elementary School resolution. Yes, Mr. Reeves.
So in your packet is a copy of the resolution and my proposed contract, and is also in your packet is the email back from the town of Greenville and their proposed changes to the contract. Just to back up for a minute, anytime that the school board wishes to convey or sell a piece of property, you have to do so by a written resolution. You have to approve a written resolution. The written resolution is going to have attached to a contract that you're approving. And so that's what you're being asked to do today. I would like, if we can, let me go over the changes that the town of Greenville is proposing, and then you all can tell me if you're okay with them or not. I think the easiest thing to do, if you pull up or look at the, it says contract-Greenville School JLR, that's for Mr. Reed, who's their attorney. And that's a red line version of the contract. And if we go to 8.3, and there's some typos and different things, I'm not going to go over all that, the substantive part. On 8.3, we have a long-term lease restriction that says no part of it can be subject to a long-term lease more than 3 years. They added the red provision that says the restriction shall not apply to leases with governmental entities or nonprofit organizations providing public or community services. I assume we would at least want to clarify and make sure, education is a community public service. So we want to say, we don't object to that, but excluding education, having some kind of school, is that?
I would say I want to make sure that they can provide tutoring services and those types of things. I don't want to exclude that, but right. So that is beneficial to the children in the community.
I mean, here's my thing, Manager, if I may. So, I'm the one who's probably been the stickler the most on these, restrictions and all of these protections in here, because at the end of the day, we have a fiduciary duty to protect our taxpayers' dollars for what we do with this property. And so at the end of the day, yes, we want to support partnerships with our nonprofit and government entities, but we have to keep in mind that we have other people at the table that we were not willing to waive these conveyances for. And so we have to be consistent with what we do. I'm not saying that we can't make adjustments to this, but, my thing is that, again, we have to think about worst case scenario to protect the district. If this defaults, what are we gonna do? We have a 30-year tenant in there that we cannot get out. So those are things that we have to take into consideration. So, for me personally, I'm not saying that you can't do that. I'm just saying that we need to allow some type of verbiage that whoever they're leasing the property to knows up front that that lease could be terminated by the district at any point in time that,
After 3
they
years,
defaulted on the property.
not any point in time, after you're saying
After, once they get through
lease.
their part of the contract, well, no, they're wanting to do like a 10-year lease. Say they have a government entity that comes in and says, hey, we'll lease from you, but we want a 10-year lease. Okay, that might be a great opportunity to guarantee revenue to come into the building. You don't want to miss that opportunity, but at the same time, heaven forbid something happened and that property defaulted back to us and we needed to do something different with the property. We don't want to be stuck with a tenant we can't get out. So I'm just saying that we need to make sure that there's some verbiage in there that says, okay.
In case of default.
That, that the district has the right to terminate that lease
In
in the
the
case
event,
of default.
in the
In
event
case
of,
of default.
And the reason for that, it's saying 3 years was to address that. You can certainly say, if it defaults, then the lease goes away.
Yes.
If you do that, though, then nobody's gonna sign a lease at all for anything.
I just wanna make sure
So
that
that's
people
why-
know up front.
Well, and so that's why you have the verbiage about you can't have a lease more than 3 years. If they default and it came back to you on the second year of the lease, well, you're locked in until the end of 3 years, but you're not forever. So if you're not, if that's what you're concerned about, then you may want to just reject that.
I just wanna make sure that we don't put ourselves in a position where we're stuck. Because if you know that there's an out in that, and it's not gonna automatically, they can renew that lease over and over and over again, and if we don't have an out, I'm speaking my piece here, and then the majority votes.
Well, and so I don't have a problem saying without the addition, without the new language, you would be bound for 3 years. So it comes back to you. Now, at the end of the 3 years, though, you don't have to renew it forever. If you put in this new language, you might be stuck with a long-term tenant in there that's a government entity. So if you're not, if you want to protect yourselves from that, the way to do that is to reject that additional requested additional language.
We go with it and say in case of default.
but what you're saying is we're protected with the current language more than if you were to add the new language.
You can certainly say if they default, then the lease goes away. But it may be harder for them to get tenants with that language than by just saying it's limited to 3 years. Because theoretically, they can default 6 months in, and then we get the property lease for 3 years. All right, so I'm gonna make a note to reject that. And you all are gonna vote on it at the end. You're not making a final decision, but I'm from my notes.
And before we vote, can you read each?
I'll recap.
Thank you.
All right, and so the next one, 5. Now, with the maintenance, and remember the maintenance restriction, that was one that they were required to keep the property up and all of that. Now, the last part of it we had that said that the buyer, meaning the town, would promptly repair, replace, rebuild all of the property which may be damaged or destroyed by fire or casualty. Now, they added, to the extent reasonably practicable, taking into account the nature and extent of the damage, availability of insurance proceeds, cost of repair, and the intended use of the property. So that's the point of that is they would have, if it burned down, they would have an argument that they didn't have to rebuild it. I don't know what the board thinks about that. Certainly, we're requiring that they keep the property up, requiring that they keep the insurance, keep it insured. I think that, requiring them to rebuild, doesn't seem unreasonable to me, but, you all can tell me what you think.
But, okay, so my question in this is again, we have to think about worst case scenario and how we're protecting our investment in the building. I know that the goal is to ensure that the property remains an asset to the community and not a liability. But, in protection for the public property, let's say the property was damaged and it burned down to the ground and they collected a bad insurance check. Where's our protection that, okay, they could just hand us back the property and cash the insurance check. So where's our verbiage that protects us from that?
Well, that's the verbiage without this section, because it says the buyer shall promptly repair all the buildings, and so that's the.
So when they collect that insurance check.
It should be, we should be a loss payee or a additional insured on that policy to ensure that those funds are not proceeds to them, but to the district.
If they choose not to rebuild,
Correct.
if they choose to rebuild, it should be in, with the money, that amount of money.
Correct.
Yeah, well, and that might be you could limit it to insurance claims.
Yes, exactly. All right, the next thing is on 8.6 at the top of the next page. So what we had put in there was in 8.6 was a waiver of restriction. So the board on a case-by-case basis could waive if they had somebody that was a really good deal and everybody wanted it, they would have the authority to waive it. The added part says the district's ability to waive any restriction pursuant to this section shall not be limited or contingent upon payment of consideration, the existence of the buyout, etc. What they're trying to get to there is that the board, this board of the school board, is not limited. It's not that you don't have the authority to waive without consideration. And so I don't really have a problem with that. That's just clarifying that, which I think is y'all's intent anyway, if that's okay. All right, on enforcement. So this is an 8.7 is a subtle difference. So we had in there that that there was a reverter. The reverter comes into effect if we have to give them 60 days notice and the opportunity to cure. What they've got is a little bit more complicated language, but it's got the same minimum 60 days to cure. But it says, however, if the violation cannot be reasonably cured within a 60-day period, the cure period shall be extended for such additional time as reasonably necessary, so long as the buyer is diligently pursuing the cure. So theoretically, that could give them, you could stretch out that cure period indefinitely. That would be unreasonable, because if they're really contracting and trying to get what they need to, and then the contractors are not available, the sources are not available, then we can extend.
Well, and
beyond the 60 days.
I agree, but there still has to be, it can't be indefinitely. It's got to be a realistic, accountable time frame.
It should come before the board each time.
Correct.
Each time they ask for that, it should come before the board.
I agree.
And so what I think, if I'm hearing you right, it says if the violation cannot reasonably cured, and then it reads in the cure period shall be extended for such additional time. I think what maybe
we need a time frame in there.
Well, if you put that the school board may extend it for a reasonable time. Okay. Now we've got on the buyout of the restrictions. So in paragraph 8.8, you remember the thought was, and it's kind of been a sort of a philosophy of the board in the past, was if somebody's coming in and paying the value for the property, well then it's their property. They want no restrictions. But if the school board's making a gift of the property, well then the property comes with restrictions. And so the thought was, well, what if they get some great opportunity or something? So 8.8 says, okay, well then you can buy out the restrictions. You can buy out the restrictions by basically paying the property appraiser value for the property, and then and that of course reduces over I think it's 30-year period. So it reduces a little bit a month every time. Now what they've added here is this provision that says, notwithstanding the foregoing, buyer may elect to remove one or more specific restrictions rather than all restrictions upon payment of the district of a proportionate share of the cancellation cost. The issue there is how you define proportionate share. I don't know how you would do that. Certainly, you would have, in any event, the school board would always have the option to do that. But the contract term here makes it a requirement, and I don't think I can recommend that to you because I don't think I can give you a definition of how you can figure out the proportionate share. So my recommendation would be to reject that. All right, and then next one. And then on page 6, they've added an 8.10. Notwithstanding the foregoing restrictions, the property may be used by buyer for any essential public purpose, including but not limited to water, sewer, stormwater, public safety, or emergency operations. That's pretty broad. Certainly you need to put in a restriction on education can be an essential purpose. So that out to you. What do you think?
What language you would use?
Again, there's nothing stopping on a case-by-case basis from them coming back to the school board and getting approval.
Case basis?
Yeah. We want to just project.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I don't, again, I know I'm the one that's been the stickler on all of these, I'm not saying that we wanna, limit and approve every tenant or every type of entity that they would put in there, we don't wanna put that type of restriction on where they have to come before us every time they wanna, like if they're I know, a lot of the goals of the building is to, like if they're trying to move their public works department, in one of the office out of there, I don't think that that's necessarily a concern for us.
Okay.
Like their buildings, a lot of their buildings, like the library, it's still got mold in it, a lot of their buildings, they're operating out of them, but they probably should not be. So, I think, and I don't wanna make it so tight that, they're coming to us on every meeting to try to get approval for something. But at the same time, I think our main concern is the educational aspect, where they're not competing with us for education.
I agree.
So I was going to put reject for that.
No.
All right, so on 8.11 was added to the economic hardship. It said, in the event the property is substantially damaged or destroyed or compliance with strict restrictions become economically impractical, the district and the buyer shall cooperate in good faith to modify those terminate applicable restrictions. Such modification waiver shall not be unreasonably withheld, conditioned, or delayed. We're going to cooperate in good faith. I don't really have a problem with that. Y'all would do that anyway, so I don't know that. The next one is on 9.1. I think this was fine. They just said that they have the right to get the title commitment, and if there's a problem with the title, they don't have to close. I think that's perfect. I think that may be the last one I wanted to.
It looks like it's just minor
Just
grammatical changes.
Grammar and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So let me do a recap. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If I can do a recap on, I think what y'all said, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, was 8.3, the added language. We're going to reject that. On
Can we, let's go back to that, because the added language is the restriction should not apply to leases with governmental entities or nonprofit organizations providing public or community services. I would like to keep that, but clarify, you know, like Ms. Knight said, we don't wanna provide educational services, but would like to allow, because I don't wanna limit.
This isn't about limiting the government, or it's the time frame that you're locking them in.
So that's what you're saying, okay, so we're not gonna restrict them.
With 8.3 doesn't limit any particular use, it just limits them signing a long-term lease that provides the property for more than 3 years.
Okay.
So anyway, I have reject on 8.3, 8.4, the maintenance restriction. I've got, I'm sorry, 8.5, I'm sorry. I've got that, that you all are okay with that language, provided that, or I'm sorry, that they're required to rebuild, but it's limited to the insurance proceeds. Right.
Yes.
Okay, and if you look at, just to point out, if you look up at 8.4, it says for 30 years they're required to keep the property and improvements insured at replacement value. So they're required to have it insured, and this one's saying, okay, you got to use the insurance proceeds.
But we need to make sure that we're listed as a additional insured and a loss payee.
Yeah, the buyer shall provide a copy of the policy from the new.
Yeah, but there's a difference in having a copy of the policy and being a loss
Oh, no,
payee in addition.
I totally get it.
I
I get it. I thought I put that in there, but maybe it didn't. All right, well, I didn't put that in there, so yes, let me have, I'll add on 8.4, district is a loss payee. All right, and then in 8.5, we're going to, they still have the obligation to repair, but just to the limits of insurance. 8.6, 8.6 y'all were okay with. That was the part about saying that we weren't required to make them pay for a waiver, or to waive a restriction. 8.7, this is the part about the cure period. They have that the cure period shall be extended if it can't be corrected within 60 days. You all are good with the school board may extend that cure period if it can't be cured within 60 days. And then 8.8, you all rejecting the added language, which says that that they could remove one or some of the restrictions by paying the proportionate share of the buyout price. Which again, you all are free to do that, but we don't have a way to calculate that buyout price.
If we need to, we can do that at another time. And it should come up.
8.10 was rejected. That these wouldn't apply to public purposes. And 8.11 was accepting, saying that we're going to negotiate in good faith if the use becomes practical. 9.1 was accepted. That's the part about it. So, if y'all could, maybe do a motion to approve with those changes, and then report that kind of to them, make sure they're okay.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to move forward with the amendments to the contract, as advised in our conversation here with Attorney Reeves. To make the amendments, and to approve them, submit it to the pre-code attorney.
If we could,
Do you want me to specify how?
well, no, why don't we, if y'all would approve the resolution with the contract as amended,
Okay.
and then if they don't have any change, if they're okay with it, then it'll just be done.
Mayor Cornegay, would you like to come up?
Yes, just one quick point of clarity if possible. I think if I heard you correct, Attorney Reeves, I was hearing, I know there's a little few different discussions going on about the different uses from utilities, public safety. If I heard correctly, I thought there was a discussion that you already all the time on that one. Is that, but did you say that?
So that's what I have is rejected.
Okay. Would y'all be open to that just because, I mean, I also don't wanna have to come to you all
That was my,
every time we
I
have
think that
something.
we should leave that to where it is just for anything that is
Yes.
education related.
Yes.
Because again, a lot of their public buildings need to be relocated into that building.
And we shouldn't get into city hall business. Property.
Yeah. If that's what you're wanting, but remember, the way it's phrased though is that that the restrictions, don't apply to that. Well, the restrictions include lots of things such as long-term leases and all that. I think maybe if we're gonna do it that way, probably what we would do is on the
We need to change
use.
the verbiage, right?
Yeah, we would just say that these are all allowable uses.
That they're allowable uses under the same
Under the
restrictions.
same restrictions, right? So you don't have to come back.
That's perfect. Now, let me just reiterate while I'm here on the record. We have no intention, education-wise, and it's kind of tricky when we say education because sometimes if you say just education broadly, you limit some things, but
Correct.
K-12,
Right.
no. We want to be a partner with you all.
No,
As much as possible.
You understand, you plan on tutoring, and
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
that is perfectly
Definitely.
acceptable.
And thank y'all for that language on that too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, Madam Chair, I move to accept the resolution with the, recommended changes to Attorney Reeves to proceed with the, resolution for the conveyance of the property from Attorney Reeves.
We have a motion by Ms. Knight, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hagan. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Tammy, that's here. Thank you. All right, we've got 5.8, discussion of monthly meetings.
I believe it was Ms. Hagan that asked that we put the monthly meeting discussion on our board meeting. So Ms. Hagan, if you would like to discuss this.
And Mrs. Gibson, weren't you also? I thought that,
Yeah, no, I actually brought it up.
Okay, I'm sorry,
It's
Ms.
okay.
Gibson, it was you.
But then I can take credit for it.
Anybody can take credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was just, I've had some input from the community regarding the agenda review, which takes place on, I believe, the third Tuesday at 8:30 in the morning. Our employees are not able to attend. The public who have jobs during that time are unable to attend. So that kind of put this on the agenda.
And then it's so confusing to me as a board member also. Yeah, well, we have these two regular board meetings at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. We can vote on anything that we want to. When we have the 8:30 meetings, we can't vote on anything unless it's placed on the agenda to vote on things. And so we might as well go ahead and have the two 6 o'clock meetings. And the public has said that we don't want them here. And the last 8:30 meeting that we had, I don't know if they've gotten the they said what streamed.
No, so that is one of the notes that I have here. We need to have a backup plan on how we're gonna handle if YouTube happens to be down. You know, how we're gonna upload a recording of that, because my phone,
Buzzing off, and they're saying, and so it's more convenient for the public, it's more convenient for me also, that we do the 6 o'clock meetings, because we change back and forth. When it was working with 6 o'clock, so all of a sudden I changed back to 8:30. All my days it's been in the afternoon so we can accommodate everybody. So it's confusing to me. And then sometimes when the holiday falls this, the holiday falls that, and then we gotta change it, and folk are not understanding why we have to change it, and they're just not able to get there. And they are saying that now the school is the most important thing on their agenda now.
Thank you, Ms. Hagan. Yes, I agree with you. I think it's kind of being consistent and accommodating the public when it's at 6 o'clock in the evening, the first and the third Mondays. That's how I feel.
well, I mean, I don't disagree with all of that. I do understand the concept of the workshop. The idea of being able to workshop the agenda prior to going into it, you know, in theory, is a great idea. It's not quite worked out that way for us, because, you know, a lot of times we're not even getting the information, you know, far enough in advance to be able to be prepared to ask questions. So, I mean,
We could workshop anytime, that's what we've always been doing, workshopping anytime. And sometimes it's good waiting until that particular meeting to workshop, then it's a little bit late. So we can workshop, if we have a question or have an issue that we want to, we don't have to wait for that board meeting. We can say, okay, who can be available, we should workshop this in 2 or 3 days. And we can do it.
Do we have a motion here?
I move that we change our regularly scheduled board meetings back to the first and third Monday of every month to be voting meetings at 6 o'clock.
We have a motion. We have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second by Ms. Hagan. Any further discussion?
I wanna say one thing,
Go ahead.
and that's just because I had some people that really like it, so they worked at night and they can't never hear nothing about a school board and a meeting, so they really liked it. Now it probably ain't as many that work at night, but I told them I'd say it, so I'm saying.
Well, that's good, and if you'll remind them that our meetings are streamed and they're able to access.
They work.
Exactly.
Well, they
No,
can
but they
watch
can
it
get it
later.
the next day. That next morning while they're not working, they can get it.
They can.
They can work. They can watch the board meet the ones that can't see it in the daytime can watch it at night.
Well, they want to be present also.
I understand.
It's the majority,
Hey,
I think they're a minority.
I know.
Mhm.
I understand.
Madam
Majority.
Chair, if I may,
Any further?
yes, further discussion, but just be clarification while we're on the subject of the meeting, monthly meetings is, do we have a backup plan in the works or something that we are trying to, a workaround for, in the event that YouTube is down?
So I've already, after the incident with YouTube, we did reach out to Kevin, and he has already started looking at other platforms. He just did not want to do anything until school got out. So he's talked about different platforms that he uses in other districts.
So it's being looked at and looked into.
Yes.
So that should be included in this motion. We should act on the motion that's on the floor for the 6 o'clock meeting, change to 6 o'clock. Then we can discuss the technicalities of the
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second by Ms. Hagan. All those in favor, raise your hand. We'll have our meetings on the first and third Mondays at 6 o'clock.
So, and I think you need to tell us when you want to start that, because today's the first meeting, the first Monday is the 6th, the third Monday is the 20th. And when was our workshop?
21st.
21st was going to be the workshop. So are y'all saying?
We can schedule that workshop early.
Okay, so you're saying instead of, so as of right now, we're going to the first and the third?
Yes.
Okay.
So do we want this effective April 20th, or do we want to start this with May?
No, we're at the next board meeting, not in May.
I would say that we started what would have regularly been our scheduled workshop, we should move to 6 o'clock, and that will be a regularly scheduled meeting that same day.
On April 21st?
Let's do it on the 20th.
The 20th. Monday the 20th.
So that means it's just effective right now, and so we'll schedule the next meeting for the 20th, and then after that, it's the first and third, till y'all tell us.
Okay, our next meeting will be April 20th at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
All right, thank you. 5.9 RFP for human services.
So this was at one of our previous meetings, you all had expressed an interest in doing an RFP for possibly contracting out human resources. I drafted a RFP, just a proposed RFP for y'all to consider. The RFP is in the same form the district normally uses. The thing that I would like y'all to look at, and if you look at the scope of work under paragraph 4, which is page 2, it is very general, and then it says the list of possible duties for request for proposal is attached as Exhibit A, and then I went in for Exhibit A and listed what I consider to be a pretty extensive list of the types of things that someone like this could do if you want. You are certainly free to do the RFP for all of these services, part of these services, however you would like. But the idea was to try to list out as many things as I could think of, and then because it's easier to strike stuff off the list than it is to so that, that's what I've done, and y'all tell me what you want to do.
I got that in general comment.
Yes.
HR. Those duties and responsibilities listed under superintendents get paid $150,000 per year or more. Now, I don't like privatizing anything, but we need to do something with our HR department. I've not heard anything from the union, and I can't see why the union would want to give away to an outside entity. When you give away one, you start giving away another one, and it goes on and on. Those are my comments, because I am pro-union, and I had to speak on this, not received any comment from the union. That lessens the duties and responsibilities of the superintendent. That takes a workload off of her, and that's one of the bigger portions of the duties and responsibilities of the superintendent and the HR department. And we're not taking any. I mean, our salaries and stuff is set by the legislators, and but we do need to do something about HR.
Madam Chair, I don't necessarily disagree with Ms. Hagan. However, unfortunately, the biggest concern that we have right now is obviously investigations. And we need some clear processes, timelines, and accountability. These aren't recommendations trying to make things more complex, but we need to be thinking about protecting our students and staff and the district as a whole. At the end of the day, it would be lovely if we could continue to have HR services, housed here in the district, but, right now that's not working out very well for us. So, I'm not saying that we can't, add it to the staffing plan, add that to the workshop, and maybe consider going that route. I don't have an issue with that. I'm just saying that if we look at, and I know we're getting ready to get to it, but even looking at our audit that we're gonna go over next, almost every one of our audit findings is HR or finance related. And you expect some of the finance stuff because it's just a given. But I mean, in my calculation in this, 60% of this audit findings is HR. So, and on top of the recent, activities and events, we don't have consistent processes, policies, and procedures in place right now. And that's why I recommended the RFP. At the end of the day, for me, RFP isn't about taking jobs away from our people because that's not what I'm looking to do. It's about getting an outside purview to see what is available, what it would cost us.
And there should be a cost because the superintendent's already paid for that. And this is what I would like to say, Madam Chair. That's why when I'm talking about and I asked for it to be put on the board meeting in the investigations results and whatever, we should maintain and get a policy. And this never happens again. We are the ones who establish these policies. And all this investigators and however it went, we can make sure that never ever again. The way this investigation was led, how it was done, it was decided by 3 people. We were not privy to any information, and we didn't have a say in the general public blaming the school board members. The school board members. And it was not the school board members who implemented this. It was the superintendent and the 2 people who they appointed. And we didn't even get a chance to look at the report and have an input in that report before it went public.
And that is my point.
And so that's why we should do policy. We should enact our own policy instead of taking a workload and putting another finance responsibility on us that is stay right where it belongs with superintendent and HRS. They didn't pay for it.
Excuse me. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I've listened to both of you. Now, my question is, why are we doing the RFP? Why can't we just put it added to the staffing plan? Hire someone to do this? This is, what is the problem with that?
Madam Chair, if I may, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, like I said. My issue is fair and consistent treatment of our staff. At the end of the day, that person is going to be handpicked by the superintendent and is going to report to the superintendent. And so that currently is not faring very well for our staff and our employees. So that is where my concern comes in. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I don't know how we protect the consistency of a fair and equitable investigation without having a third party involved. To have an unbiased interest.
We can do policy. Then that's when we do that by doing our policy. We implement these policies ourselves, so we should, have a policy on this. We have learned from this. Now we should establish a policy of how that should go. And it's not left to the superintendent. The people should appoint. We should have policies in place, clear policies in place. We put a policy in place with everything else. Now we should put that policy in place with this investigative procedures.
I agree with you.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
So first of all, HR does, we did combine that position. That is a combined position, so
Yes.
we will have to divide that position out. So if you will recall, through consolidation and through our FAS consultant, that was a combined position. So I had already been talking with a neighboring district. There is somebody willing to help us. So, but that's when the RP came up. So I kind of stopped talking. So Mr. Bill Brothers is very willing to work with us.
Well, Madam Chair, that's the problem, the superintendent. She's been talking with somebody, she's been talking with somebody that she wants to handpick. When we have these policies in place, we don't have to handpick anybody. We have our policies, and we don't need the superintendent to talk to anybody about it. The problem started with her in the beginning, with these investigative procedures. And HR was combined because we thought in the beginning we would be partnering with Jefferson County.
Amen.
That's why those two jobs were combined. And after Jefferson County refused, or they didn't like what we presented, and then we kept on with it. That didn't mean that we have to keep on with it. We've had an HR department before. We can still have our separate HR department from now on. It has never been a problem with HR and finance being separated. So all we got to do is just go back to it.
I would like to remind this board that this board rejected working with Jefferson County, so that's the reason we left the
Exactly.
position. So
After we had issues with Jefferson County, they had issues with us.
Well,
And we never did go back and address the combination of those. Now we can address it again.
and at the end of the day, yes, we voted to not enter into that contract with Jefferson County. However, we did not revisit the potential to add HR back in, and that is on us. And we have to take accountability for that. But in the theory of consolidation, we attempted to do something that we thought was going to be beneficial. It has not been beneficial. We have clearly learned that, and we need to learn from it and grow from it. Having the HR and finance responsibilities on one person is too much. It's not conducive, and it is not beneficial to our staff. We need to, if we are going to do this in-house again, it needs to be added to the workshop that we're doing when we are talking about the other AP and ESE coordinator, so that we can start working on this moving forward, because sooner rather than later, because our staff morale is very low right now. And if we don't start making positive changes, and we don't start growing and learning and using this experience that has happened as a learning opportunity for us to do better moving forward, at the end of the day, ultimately, everything starts at the top and it rolls downhill. So if we don't start making changes from this dais that are going to change the effect that everything that has happened has had on our students, our staff, and our community, and we don't start impacting that change now, we are just going to continue to circle the drain. And you cannot continue the path that we're on. Right now, we are literally putting Band-Aids on a boat, trying to keep it afloat. And at the end of the day, we've got to make it to summer, but how much is our students suffering because of all that?
Madam Chair, I would ask that we put this on the workshop, so that HR, and we did revisit it at the time.
I was gonna ask the board how they feel. We know how Ms. Knight feels about it.
Yes.
Please.
All right, we will put this on the agenda for B. Okay, very good. All right, 5.10, transportation oversight. Dr. Pickles?
I believe it was Ms. Knight that asked, and
I did.
I have this on there. So we are moving forward with our DOA hearing. So we are trying to get through our DOA hearing. Mr. Williams is having the oversight right now until we get through our DOA hearing. And once that is done, then we will bring the recommendation from the law judge back to this board.
Now, when will that happen?
I was gonna say, can we have an update on the timeline of the DOA hearing?
I will have to get that from the attorney. So
I thought we had a date for that already.
It was mentioned.
so it's been postponed.
For what reason?
There was a change, and so it's now. I just know it's in May.
Okay, in May.
There was a change.
Continuance.
Continue.
Who was that requested by?
Our legal.
Any questions for Dr. Pickles?
I would like more information on that continuance.
I don't have a date yet.
So as the person who added this to the table, I do. For me, this isn't so much, I understand that we're waiting on the STOA hearing, but what are we doing as a district to fill these holes and these gaps, for all of the issues that we have been having with the transportation department? For the workshop, I made a recommendation that nobody got to hear, that we put a communication liaison in place to fill the void of the lack of communication between the district and the parents and the drivers.
Starting with this meeting,
So, where are we in that process?
because it's ugly. And
Listen.
parents,
No disrespect to Mr. Williams, because I think he is a wonderful employee. However, he has a lot of hats that he wears, and I don't think that he should be responsible for the transportation, communication, and all of his other duties.
Per my previous request, we need a liaison in place that has the knowledge and the experience with the transportation department to know the routes, to know the parents, to know the students, and to know the ins and outs of everything.
and don't we have somebody in place to do that?
Let's add something, someone that is respected, not disrespectful.
Amen.
Somebody in place already who could just step in as of tonight and start tomorrow doing those things that need to be done. Those transportation is just too big of a problem. And you must remember, the bus drivers, transportation, our first contact with the students. And the parents get aggravated, the students are aggravated, the buses are late, it's aggravating the people in the classroom. Then we might have to pay back money too when these children are not getting their free and reduced lunch. Well, free lunch is the breakfast that they're talking about, because the parents said that the children come home hungry, scared to go and eat that breakfast that they're entitled to because the bus is late. And some children gonna eat anyway, but some children are timid and they're not just gonna press the issue. Then it disrupts the class. The teachers halfway through, they're not getting what they need to get from that particular first period class because the buses are all the time late. And it's given to parents at night or early in the morning when these parents are already in bed, the children are in bed, and they don't look at the thing. I don't keep mine on 24 hours. So when I get it's up in the middle of the day, and some parents they don't get it at all. But starting tonight, we need to have someone in place. This night, do you have somebody particular, somebody, the board?
This is up to the superintendent to give us a recommendation. So Ms. Knight is not the superintendent.
Okay.
Dr. Pickles?
So right now it's Ms. Kane and Mr. Williams. So Ms. Kane is the point of contact. She talks to the parents. They call.
Ms. Kane is new. How long has Ms. Kane been on the job?
What we are doing is not working, and that's been very apparent again.
6 months, maybe.
We got these Band-Aids on the boat, we're trying to float downhill. Our students are getting the short end of the stick.
All that Rod got
Well, I hope
safety.
that Dr. Pickles, who is the superintendent and supposed to CEO of the district, would come up with a plan that will work.
If the plan is not working, what she has come up with.
We are asking her to reconsider something else, but unfortunately, the people that we have that are qualified for that position don't quite meet the popularity contest. So we're just gonna bypass that and we're going to let our students suffer.
Yeah.
Sound about right?
Yep.
All right.
Not our precious resources. They are not anymore.
Dr. Pickles, if you'll give us an update on that, or if there's any changes, or if you can come up with a different plan to make things run smoother. I know we're at the 11th hour as far as the school year goes. 5.11, operational audit report. Mr. Copeland?
Good evening again. You received the operational audit in your package, and I'm going to give you a high-level overview and then answer any questions that I can answer for y'all. But just a quick reminder, the operational audit is a triennial audit. It's every 3 years, and so the one that that's dated March 2026 was for the 2023 through 2025 fiscal years. Prior to that, the one prior to this latest was 2021 through 2023. As Ms. Knight mentioned, this recent operational audit, we had 16 findings, 4 that were specific to HR only. There was some mix in there also. 9 of them were finance, 3 were IT. And again, the operational audit is a different animal than the regular financial audit that we go through every year. The operational audit hits the FTE, the required training, HR, IT, for example. It gets much more granular in those areas than does our annual financial audit. Compare this latest operational audit to the prior operational audit, we had 8 findings. This audit, we had 5 of the same findings we had in the previous audit. So, we kind of backed up a little bit. And we responded, and you will see it in the audit report, we responded with corrective action plans and finding responses, but we have to hold ourselves to doing those. And some other mitigating steps that best practices would dictate that would likely help us are some simple things like checklists, continuing to communicate with other districts on what best practices are for them. That's a good way to tighten up. And also decentralize some things. You know, we can have some oversight more so at the school. We can appoint people, especially with our fixed assets and our inventory. It's all over the board. It's been a finding since I was here in 2017. It should be fixed. And but again, it's no excuses. We have new people. We've got good people, and but we've got to do a better job of training and setting the expectations and then following up on the expectations and involving everyone. This operational audit, it captures, you know, HR, IT, some of the curriculum things, and transportation. So we have to have a group get together, assign duties, and do a better job of dotting I's and crossing the T's.
I wholeheartedly agree, Madam Chair, if I may. I just, I highlighted a lot of things on here that were very alarming, and again, some of this is, prior administration, some of it is not, but like, and we're trying to be good stewards of our money, and we're up here talking about how we're trying to save funds, and we're issuing overpayments for, payroll in the amount of $22,000, for employees that are being compensated for sick leave, and we're paying employees over $10,000 who don't even work for the district anymore. It goes on and on and on. And it's funny to me that you say that this includes transportation audits, And, you know, we have our transportation director under fire for all of these findings that he has, but there's not one on here.
Exactly.
And there's
Not
none of these
one
other
extra
employees.
space. Have he violated policy? We don't have anything on there,
Very
no
interesting.
findings, it's so interesting that he has been fired.
Ms. Johnson?
I was gonna say the exact same thing, you know, we're talking about, you said, I wrote it as you said it, and I quote, we've gotta do a better job at training our employees. That's exactly right, we do, but as Ms. Knight said, I've picked through this audit, and I'm not directing this at you, I'm just making a statement, so please don't think I'm directing this at you, but as a general statement, there are multiple departments that are responsible for these audit findings, but we are placing under such scrutiny one particular department when we just need to train all of our people a little bit better and have better oversight of every department. Show a little bit of grace to these employees, but the biggest thing is we've got to have better procedures in place, better oversight for each of these departments, because as Ms. Knight said, that was one thing that stuck out to me the most is the amount of money that has gone right out the window. For what? Because there was not proper oversight of these departments, proper training. Again, mistakes are made, but we can't pick and choose which ones we choose to amplify and which employees we choose to terminate or try to terminate or investigate for findings that aren't even listed. There's nothing on here about the transportation department.
Not one copy.
Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I had this purposely moved from consent down to items for individual consideration. I've spent too much time on this report, but, and I'm gonna give an example, and maybe you can give me the answers, I don't know. We were given $232,000.82 for the 24-25 fiscal year to implement a school-based mental health assistance program. I'm on page 3. All right, it was a 5-hour training for grades 6 through 12. It involved 986 students, and 950 of them didn't have it. So I'm saying, what happened to the money? In other words, that we got this money. There was 986 students were eligible for this, but 950 of them, no evidence that they had any of it all. That was just one thing.
And this was during the 24-25 school year,
That's what
just to be noted when that took place.
All right, another thing, I've got quite a few, but we're not going to name them all. I had asked at a meeting a while back about, I call it a credit card, but I found out it was a debit card. All right, how many are there? And I was told, how many was I told? 1. Okay, there's 16 P cards. They call them P cards. And so in other words, okay, there's let me get this straight. Records evidencing supervisor review approval authorization were not maintained for these 16 P card charges, ranging from $229 to $8,696, a total of $21,451. So this is gift cards. There was almost $9,000 spent for 300 gift cards, but only 95 people got them. So I'm wondering, where are the gift cards? Where are the gift cards?
Okay, if I may, let me go back to the resiliency education. So the training was provided, the documentation was not kept. So,
Well, wait a minute. I can't believe we have people working for us.
well,
Oh
this
my
was,
God.
we were told, and that's what, it even clearly says, the evidence
Well,
was no
I'm not
evidence,
doubting you,
so.
because you've probably been told that. But I mean, anyone knows when you have some type of training, there's gonna be some documentation.
Oh my God.
That's what the auditors noted, that there was no evidence maintained to
So
show
they
that
didn't
it was
receive it
documented.
then, if there's no evidence maintained, they didn't receive it.
All right, well then, all right, let's get on to this.
For them, so we have purchased a program, or that's part of one of our programs that we've adopted, that it shows when they receive that training.
So they did.
Each time.
Okay, well.
For this moving forward.
Well, if they sign,
No, but still, I'm still.
okay, but Madam Chair, if they signed, the question that you're saying, if they signed, why wasn't it presented to the auditors that they signed, that they did receive this? It was not presented. So we can say anything about it was signed, but why was it presented as evidence?
The individual that provided the training did not have the training records to present to the auditor.
Okay,
I have to go by that.
We fired one man,
Okay.
but all these other excuses are coming up about everybody else.
I tell you, it looks sloppy to me. It looks like the money is shifting all over the place. I mean, even like, I don't regret people getting a gift. I never got a gift. You know, I got one apple, you know, when I was getting an apple a year. Those were the days.
So as far as the gift cards, I can tell you there were gift cards purchased by the previous administration.
Right.
And that's what's written up. And I can't attest to the actual value amount, but they're locked up in the vault back there.
So
So
you still
the actual, those that weren't checked out, they're in the vault back there.
Okay, now, there's a lot of, that's why I couldn't even approve this, because I don't have all the answers to all this stuff. I mean, you're explaining to us right now, but I'm thinking,
Madam Chair,
yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned the P cards.
Yes.
I think you may be mixing up the P card at the school, high school. We've always had 15 P cards. I mean, and that's just good business in my opinion.
Okay.
And so I think there may be some confusion between the school level
P cards.
that flows through the internal account versus the.
Okay.
And
all right. Well, that's why I needed to have you explain this to us.
Madam Chair, that's what Dr. Cunningham's tried to straighten out. You remember?
Yeah, I remember.
The rebuttal that she received, the nastiness that she received. And it was right there in the audit too, talking about what Dr. Cunningham said to us.
Right.
She was treated unfairly and indecent and with no respect.
Madam Chair, back to the gift cards.
Yes.
I'll tell you, I was floored. I hadn't bought any. Yeah, and but I can tell you, they're in a safe. There's a record kept of them. If we do have any events where they're they're needed, and believe me, I spent more time than I wanted to with the auditors on gift cards, but I can't attest to why they were purchased or such, but
well,
they weren't under my watch.
This is what I'm talking about. We closed up 3 schools,
right.
Let's say the board, because of no money. So if we don't have money, we can't afford 300 gift cards to be sitting in a safe back there. And or some of this other stuff. I think that's what bothers me the most. They were determined, you know, we gotta close the schools, Well, that means we didn't have any money to keep, and so, but then it seems like all of a sudden we've got money to throw away.
Now,
Madam Chair, how can we rectify this? I mean, we need to have a resolution so those gift cards can be spent on whatever goods that's going to paying bills or whatever when we order products.
I don't think we can use a gift card for that.
But that's why I'm saying, how can we rectify this?
I don't know.
Sometimes we have people going and they per diem. Can they be used for that? I don't know. These are just questions that I'm asking, and we need to rectify this, Madam Chair.
I agree, but I don't have the answer.
Ms. Higgins, if you don't mind, let me come up with an idea of what we can do.
Okay.
I believe I get Dr. Pickles and we can find a way to utilize those gift cards. We do have a substantial dollar amount of gift cards.
Not just for foolishness.
Madam Chair, if I may.
No, for operating expenses.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
I know that they have, some of them have been used for like perfect attendance and things like that. We have been utilizing them in small increments. But honestly, this didn't even cross my mind until just this very moment. A lot of those gift cards have expiration dates. So it would be very terrible for those cards to expire with all of that money on it sitting in a safe because they're not being utilized. So that just came to mind.
We'll follow up on yes, to it.
That would be a true waste of money.
Wide open, but we'll make sure. And let me refer back to my first tenure here. I do know, and this could have been the case under the prior administration, is we would get some healthy refunds from Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it was the normal practice, right, wrong, or indifferent, that we purchase gift cards and hand them out. And I think we've done a lot of good things to boost morale with some of them, but it doesn't need to be all of them.
Something about the next board meeting, some kind of information.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
All right, now let me ask, and it might be the attorney this time, Mr. Reed. Getting back to these employees, now I don't know who the employees are, and I don't wanna know who the employees are either, as far as overpayment. When we overpay an employee, they assume that's their money. You know, in other words, I got this is my check, I've got to do this, that, and everything else with it. Do you try to get the money back, or is it just say, well, it was our mistake?
I let you know. No, what's happened is the ones they're referencing are employees obviously that's separated, and we had an incorrect pay. Yes, we have received money back from some. They obviously don't show on the report. There's others I have gone back and forth until, you know, they kind of got us.
Yeah.
And
Well, in a way, I don't blame them though, because in other words, they assume that this is their money, you know, once they get it.
well, one thing I am confident now that our terminal pay procedures are not going to allow this to happen again.
That sounds good. That's good.
But I think these very well may have happened under my watch.
Well, we're not placing blame.
I know, but
You're talking
I'm
you're
not.
talking about your present watch now.
Yes, ma'am.
So you came in, remember I talked about how many duties and responsibilities you had with the finance and with the HR. I argued that point and argued that point, and I'm still arguing that point. And so how can you concentrate on numbers and then when you concentrate on investigations or either HR or whatever? So I mean, it happened under your, and this is the prime example, why it shouldn't happen anymore and why these two departments should be divided.
And I will say that Dr. Pickles and I have talked about this, and believe me, I don't want to work like this the rest of my life. I am getting a lot of that. I'm not the sole, I mean, I may be the figurehead for HR, but there's a lot of support that I get from Dr. Holmes, from Mr. White, that are stepping in and filling the gaps where a traditional HR coordinator would handle, and I much appreciate that. And Tammy and Miss Fletcher.
You're the head of departments, but duties and responsibilities supposed to be delegated.
That's correct.
Madam Chair, and we appreciate the team effort. Like, don't mistake that. There's no I in team by any means. However, that team effort and that, okay, you get this one and you get this one and you get that one is why we have inconsistency in our HR department right now, why not everybody is getting the same results.
I think you have a consensus from the superintendent down that we need to fill the gap.
Well, thank you for saying that, because it is not been said.
And Mr. Copeland, I did not bring this to point blaming anyone, but if we're gonna be responsible for the money, we've gotta keep our eye on all of this stuff right here. And
I didn't get 30-year, 28-year CPA. I don't like this stuff. And now some of it's nitpicky, and sometimes, you know, they say the scale don't change your weight. Sometimes you've got to focus on the operations and for example, the IT access. I take full responsibility for that because I couldn't get work done without having that access. Should I have had it? Absolutely not. I knew that. But we're going to fix these problems, and we've spent a lot of time putting out forest fires and not doing any prescribed burning. And so I think we're getting to the point where hopefully 3 years from now, we won't have this. We're going to have some. You're never going to work around that. The auditors.
right. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. I said one thing on the overpayment. So, on the overpayment, So if an employer pays an employee by mistake and make an overpayment, you are certainly allowed to file a lawsuit and to get a judgment to recover the overpayment. The problem with that is when you file a lawsuit like that, you end up with a money judgment. Sometimes money judgment is uncollectible, all of those types of things. Plus you have to put out money to sue and have to pay attorney time, all that. It has been my experience that most employers just write it off, but it's not that you're required to write it off. You have the ability to file a lawsuit, try to recover it if you want to. But I don't think that's going to result in recovering a lot of money.
I understand that, and going back to the employee, I really can't fault them because, like I said, when you get a paycheck, that's your paycheck, and go pay.
Madam Chair, and we've had this before. We've had overpayments. And after exactly what the attorney's saying, after the amount of money that we did send out certified letters, it happened on the dug ground. After we sent out certified letters, and they didn't pick them up, or either they didn't respond. So after we figured the amount of money that we would be spending would be more than that was paid out, so we just let it go. So it seems as though this time we're gonna have to let it go and just keep better account because it has happened.
Lesson learned. Right.
So,
Any other questions?
Madam Chair, if I may, so to Mr. Copeland's defense, on the terminal payments, he followed our current policy, and it seemed to not be a problem on our terminal payouts until this year. And he really honed in and questioned the auditor, and so he kept going back and forth, back and forth. So for whatever reason, our current policy is kind of now we're gonna have to revisit that. So he was following, he even kept questioning how come hasn't been a problem in the past. So, and I think that's been there since
The
16,
the
17.
Florida statute changed the payout rates for employees, I think, before 2004. We didn't even have records, and so I knew it wasn't. This is after the fact. We've got it. I'm confident we're not going to have this issue going forward. But again, how it happened, just mix up.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Ms. Thompson?
I would like to see, for accountability and transparency purposes, a quarterly update of what the district is doing at the district level to ensure that these audit findings are being corrected, including staff trainings, different things that are being implemented to correct these audits moving forward. I would like, at least at minimum, to see that quarterly. If we can add that as something that is required.
That would be Mr. Issues and this.
Right.
Well,
Yes. All audit findings, I would like, at minimum, quarterly updates on corrective actions.
I'm glad that we discussed this and we will take a vote on it. This doesn't mean we approve of it. This just means that we've seen it, we're aware of it, and we are going to move forward from this point.
We accept it. Can't change it.
Yeah. Okay, can't change. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the Florida Auditor General operational audit.
Do we have a motion by Ms. Thompson, second?
That's it.
Second by Mr. Carroll. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Tammy, 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Copeland.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That's it. All right, 512, investigations. Dr. Pickles?
Madam Chair, I place it on the agenda.
Well, you do place it on. Would you like to start?
Yes, ma'am. I sure would like to start. I'm not satisfied with the investigation. The process, we didn't follow the process, and I have several questions. And I've kind of mentioned them all along. And there were no consequences. The last two investigations, no consequences at all. Now, 3 people decided what was supposed to happen. And what my questions are, what is the credentials and certifications? And what are the training these people had to do this investigation? And you know, we're gonna do it in the workshop. We're gonna, you know, ask the attorney and policies. We're gonna set policies in place that this will never happen again. And I wasn't expecting consequences and didn't get consequences. It's my understanding. One teacher was expecting, own it, not exactly, but was expecting consequences. Okay? And this is all I gotta say. I would like to get to go on our official records for this April 6, 2026 school board meeting. Madam Ms. Candy, official records, my statement that I disagree with the investigation. There should have been more consequences, starting not with the N-word, but from the beginning, where 4 adults accost 4 students. These students that they accost were some of our best and brightest students, dual enrollment students, having a discussion in the library. They were having this discussion in the library, which they should have had. Then we had the librarian took offense to the discussion that they were having. She disrespected the principal. She disrespected the dean's students that we have too, and took it upon herself to handle the situation. And how she handled that situation was by contacting the 2 school resource officers to come in there and intimidate the children and give them a talk. Then after that, she called Mrs. Fletcher to come down. Mrs. Fletcher abandoned her class to come down and chastise these teachers. We have all seen in that video, we have seen that she was in such a hurry to get there that she didn't notify the principal that she needed somebody to cover her classes either. So these 2 people with the 2 school resource officers took that matter in their hands, and then it escalated. It exploded. This would not have been as worse as it is if they had followed the correct procedures. And no consequences? No consequences for nobody? Then there's a consequence where one teacher's not supposed to be involved with students. We don't have anything on our staffing table that's created a position that this teacher cannot be involved with students. What job description, what job do we have on our staffing table? We don't have anything like that. They thought the principal was incompetent to do her job, and I believe they all followed the rules that they made up, not policy rules. The superintendent appointed that principal. That principal is responsible for all things that happen on campus. Not the 2 school resource officers, not the 2 schools. They were so disrespected, the principal, that it's just, I can't wrap my head around it. Where the 3 people who investigated this thought and said it shouldn't be any consequences. And that's the first consequences that should have been given, should have been taken in consideration with that investigation. None of that was mentioned about the rules that they violated, how they took things in their own hands. Then it just went on to the N-word. And the N-word upsets everybody. And that would not have been so detrimental if just those policies had been followed by those 4 people and no consequences. No. That's all I gotta say. I disagree. I strongly disagree with the results.
I'd like to see us at a workshop, which we will be doing, develop policies that will help us establish ways of doing the work in the future.
Yeah.
For instance, the board needs to be notified of a problem, because we were very unaware, especially the first incident. But I'd also like to say, and I know the world has changed as far as respect and all that, but I will say this again about, and I'm not pinpointing anyone. As far as anyone that should be around children should be above cussing, which I've heard of teachers cussing in the class. It's not, it does happen. Use any type of racial slur, I am totally against it. So, yes, when will this workshop we say will happen on the
21st.
the 21st? Okay.
And we need to allow enough time, because we have so many issues, Madam Chair, that we have placed on that workshop so that we have enough time to address all of them and not be in a rush.
Let me get this straight. We're gonna have the next regular school board meeting on Monday, the 20th, at 6 o'clock. Now, on the 21st.
I'm sorry, on the 20th, I'm sorry.
Okay, well then, all right, what do you have down there so far for this workshop? I know you've been taking the notes.
We have our regular scheduled meeting on the 20th, so we need to
Yeah.
actually schedule a workshop.
Well, that's
Before the 20th.
I don't think we can do it.
Yes, we can. We got two
No,
weeks.
I mean before.
Let me finish. I don't think this requires more than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally we start at 5 and we're gonna have a little workshop. I don't think, okay, Dr. Pickles?
So we have the job descriptions, we have the HR job description, so but that would just be under there. So, then, so I actually have that as a separate one.
We need that on the workshop, Madam Chair, policies for investigative procedures.
And that's my minutes. I'm trying to see if I forgot something else.
And Madam Chair, we need to have this so that the general public can hear if they want to.
Well, then we need
Normally
to
they're not
6 o'clock.
sometimes.
Policy.
So it should be on different days than the school board meeting. It should be before the school board meeting, so that when we have the school board meeting, we can address these issues and say that these issues have been not maybe resolved, but some conclusions and some progress has been made.
I can't do it next Monday night. I've got something on the 16th.
It's okay. It's another Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
But how about the 16th is a Thursday night? I'll throw that out.
No, I'm not,
That's not good?
What's the day before and the day after?
I'm not here after I do.
Tuesday the 14th.
Which one? Before the 16th.
Tuesday the 14th.
Tuesday the 14th? Ms. Knight? Ms. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yeah.
Ms. Thompson? And I'll say yes to it. At what time? 6 o'clock. I think let's keep these meetings at 6 o'clock to be consistent. Oh, that's not good?
No, that's senior night for softball.
Okay.
So do we just want to make our meeting on the 20th, the workshop?
We should make it early. I
It can be early every day.
Yeah.
It could be early in the day, but we don't have any input from the general public. And I tell you what, when we had these meetings, and the people turned out at these meetings, and they do want some input. They want to hear now what's going on. They're really taking an interest in what's going on. And they should know that we, the school board, is not responsible.
What about Wednesday the 15th?
It's okay.
No, that's a church time.
I was gonna say, why don't we,
I have church, but you know, I can miss one church night.
if we can do it on the 20th.
And we'll have all the job
But
descriptions
see, we have so many.
and the policy.
We have so
And that
many
will be our meeting.
excuses.
The 20th is fine with me.
We'll just do
No,
it
it's
on,
not gonna be a vote meeting,
but
we can have something to bring back to the next vote meeting.
what she's saying is in place of the 20th, we had previously agreed to have that as a voting meeting, but for this month, for that meeting, let's make that our workshop and continue the month of May with.
We already settled that, so we'll go back to it. We already settled, when we came to that, we settled that, we said we would start the next meeting as a voting meeting.
If I may.
So now it's so many excuses. We got church, we got this, we got that. I can miss a prayer meeting, I can miss a prayer meeting.
Okay,
If I may.
yes.
We can have it a workshop / voting meeting. We workshop the job descriptions. We can have them on the screen. Once everybody's satisfied with them, then you can vote on them afterwards.
Are you talking about the 20th?
On the 20th.
So, what about the general public? See, we trying to avoid the.
Regardless, and if I
Six
don't,
o'clock
I
at
don't
six.
until midnight.
Okay, well, let's,
I'd rather do it that way.
we get paid for it.
And the same thing
Okay.
with the policy.
Alright.
Research some other counties to see what they have and try to have.
I don't wanna go about all the counties, because, these superintendents be in cahoots with each other, and then it's the board members who decide this. I don't need to go to another county to decide what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, what is right and what is wrong. I don't need to ask another county that. We know this ourselves. There's 5 board members who are voting. We got common sense, we know. We know what happens and what doesn't happen. So I don't need no input from another county.
Okay, well then on the 20th at 6 o'clock, we're gonna have a workshop / regular meeting.
Make any of the changes to the job descriptions and then approve them once you see.
Okay. All right.
May I suggest that anything you want in the policy, you go ahead and email Mr. Reeves. So he can begin drafting
Sounds good.
the policy.
Sounds
So what
good.
time it's gonna be?
6 o'clock.
p.m.
6 o'clock.
That's
Still the
gonna
same
be
time.
April who?
April 20th, it'll be 2 weeks from tonight.
April 20th at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Now it has been fixed so the general public can come and they can hear and stream. It won't be our fault, the school board members, if you don't do either one.
Superintendent items?
May I get a clear direction on what you now would like to do with the Lee and Pinetta School? Would we like to have the attorney try to find a realtor a commercial realtor to try to list the properties with? I have not enough heads.
At one time, Mr. Coker, at one time, that we had discussed doing it countrywide, United States wide, advertising it that way.
And we, can I,
That was
Madam Chair?
his recommendation.
Yeah, and then Dr. Pickens and I have spoken about this. I think if we get like a Saunders or even a local realtor, they can do the MLS nationwide and maybe do an auction, and you can have a no-sale clause and at least see what it brings. Yes.
I'm all for that. I mean, at this stage of the game, we need to do something.
One thing the Madison County did well was they used a site called Gov Deals, and they listed the old Taylor County Hospital that nobody would buy, and I think they ended up getting several $100,000 for it on the Gov Deals site. That might now, if y'all want to do that, we got to bring back an agreement with Gov Deals and all of that. But if you'd be interested in that, we can certainly.
We need to get as much money. Those properties paying at millions of dollars. The lead school is, it's just a relative new school.
I would suggest that we go that route, just because I don't think in a small community, how do we decide which realtor we list it with and be fair? And I don't think that's something that we could do an RFP for, because the rates are set as far as commission goes for real estate.
Well, keep in mind that any realtor can sell it.
I agree,
Yeah,
I agree, but the listing agent,
Yeah.
the listing agent.
Let me ask you this now. We have certain parcels that we have had our citizens interested in. Those parcels are certain parcels at Pinell and certain parcels at Lee. We've had citizens, and so can we sell those parcels separate and get rid of those parcels? The thing at Lee with the pine trees on it, and then the one at Pinell where we had a buyer for that. Can we,
Why don't we see
talk about some of that, and then do the Pinell and the Lee buildings.
Right, I would like to see how this goes with a commercial real estate.
Well, that's will be commercial. We don't have to include those 2 properties.
But I think, just because of the way we survey the properties, so that we don't have to incur the expenditure of having to pay for surveys to survey that land out, we need to list it as is and see what we get back, and then entertain that as an option if it doesn't work out.
I agree.
What did we do in the beginning when we list that Lee property and that Pinell property?
We had looked at surveying them out.
We had listed as separate entities.
We had, well, because we had somebody bid on wanting just that section, so we looked at separating them out. But if correct me if I'm wrong, the surveys we paid for the properties as a whole, correct?
I would have to go back and look.
Well, if they want, if they have enough citizens, I think citizens, those two properties that they should get the first option on it. And if it's a fair price, we go ahead and get rid of that. And then, do the two buildings, because we might have somebody interested in those two properties.
What I can do is, if you want, we'll bring back an agreement with Gov Deals or proposal, and then I'll also bring back the surveys. I'll put those in the packet so y'all can see that.
And then the people who want the property, they might want to pay for the survey themselves.
Dr. Pickles, anything else?
We did have I've been updating you on our FEMA arbitration. We did have a call this past week, so things are looking promising. So I will keep you updated as the attorney sends more information, has further calls. But after this call that we just had, Mr. Gibb and I were both I'm very pleased with that outcome of that call. So you see the pipeline that I presented to you. So we'll wait and see. So hopefully we'll get that 2.1 million, I believe it is.
Your lips to gum to yours.
Ms. Knight?
Yeah, so I would just like to say, as we close tonight, that I want to speak to everybody as a board member and as somebody with a heart for our community. We cannot ignore the weight of the recent events. Trust has been tested, communication has been strained, and emotions are high. This is a difficult season, but it is also a defining one. The state of our district right now is both in concern and opportunity. We are at a crossroads. We cannot allow division and negativity to pull us apart. We can choose to come together, learn from this, and move forward stronger and united. But one of the clearest lessons in this moment is the power of our words. What we say, how we say it. Our words have the ability to build, to tear down, to lead, or to harm. And that impact extends beyond ourselves. And these are lessons not just for our students, but it is a responsibility for all of us. Let this be the moment where we lead by example. Our students are watching. They are learning from us, and they deserve to see unity and leadership, especially in the challenging times. While we face obstacles, there is still so much good happening across our district, within our teachers and our students and our staff that are all working tirelessly. That is who we are, and that's what we're trying to protect. But we cannot move forward without rebuilding the trust. That requires accountability, transparency, and consistent open communication with each other and with our community. We hear you, your voices matter. And now I ask for your support, not for individuals, not for agendas, but for our students and the future of our district. Progress happens when the community chooses to stand together. Even when it is hard, we must commit to doing the right thing. Let no corrupt communication proceed out your mouth. Ephesians 4:29. And I leave you with this. The words we choose today will shape the culture of our children's walk in tomorrow. So let's choose them wisely. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Ms. Hagan?
The words and choices that we choose today affect our most precious resources. Our children has been traumatized. And guess what? They don't trust us anymore. There have been no consequences for that trauma, for them being traumatized. Their parents are not believing in us anymore. They have not gotten any satisfaction. Children has not gotten any satisfaction. And that's all what I can say. Our most precious resources. If you read that down there, that motto or whatever it is down there, is it true? I don't think that is true. We have forgotten all about the students. But when we leave these two teachers out there teaching half of school, when these parents seriously considering pulling their children out of the school system. They are seriously considering it. Children has been traumatized too much and too many times. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hagan. Mr. Carroll?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I know it's hard times, and it's tough. Our kids are suffering. But I think one thing we really need to do is we really need to look to the Lord, ask for guidance, and ask for forgiveness. I ask forgiveness all the time, but you know, we just have to keep just what Katie said. You know, I'm not a speaker, but she hit the nail on the head. But I also I want to thank the board for the phone calls and the text messages and for the flowers that they sent with Della's mother's passing. It's been tough. Been tough losing her. And she was my mother-in-law, but she was my right hand. So I took a ride in every evening, and she always talked to me about the Lord. But I want to thank y'all for sending that. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Carol, I wasn't informed that your mother-in-law had passed. And one more thing, Madam Chair, these children have not received an apology, and they're saying it's business as usual. We have not apologized to these children. It's business as usual. It's the adults that we're concerned about. People who cause the problem and not the children. I'm finished. So frankly, I apologize. I didn't know your mother-in-law had passed.
That's why you left that.
Well, God said it to me, and I didn't receive it through an email or anything. I didn't hear. I didn't receive a email through the district or anything like that either. So,
Ms. Thompson?
As the old saying goes, and I'm sure all of you have heard it, sometimes when you don't have anything nice to say, you just don't say anything at all. And I would like to say thank you for everyone that's here tonight to be here and take time out of your night. We're going on almost 3 hours. It shows your commitment to the community and to your students. And, you know, I'm at a loss for words right now because there's so much heaviness within our district and within our community. And so I'll just leave it with that and say, I appreciate you being here. Please continue to be here for the kids. Your presence matters, your voice matters, and I appreciate you coming and speaking truth about what is right and the things that are going on. Don't hush about this. Don't quiet it. That's how things get done. Keep speaking about it.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. On a light note, I want to recognize someone that's been in our district for 58 years. And I think most of you know her, Evelyn Chansey at Madison County High School. I'd like to thank Emerald Green from Green Publishing and Nikki Starling for writing a wonderful article about Evelyn in the Front Porch magazine, March and April edition. Evelyn is a super worker and an asset to the school system, and I don't think you're going to find anybody else that's spent 58 years anywhere on a job. So we'd like to thank her for her years of dedication. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
No, excuse me.
Can we speak? We didn't realize that you had, would you move this? Yeah, because we did add that to the agenda. We will allow these speakers because the investigation was added once we got to the meeting tonight. We had to add the investigation. Pardon?
Can we take like a 2-minute recess?
Oh, yeah, you can, we'll take a little recess. Take your time, you don't have to run.
When we get together. Okay. Yeah. All right, so they take some. Good to see you. Okay, let's go.
I turned it off.
Thank you for allowing us to take that little recess. We appreciate it. We have some speakers tonight. We had the investigation on the agenda after we arrived tonight, so I'm happy to let you speak for your 3 minutes. Let's have Mr. Donnell Davis.
Good afternoon. Good evening. How about that? Say 7:42, so y'all might want to change your clock. They past that time. Good afternoon to all the board members, to all the ministers, definitely to my pastor that drove 100 and some miles down tonight. I got a couple things. I'm gonna be short. First, I don't know. Have y'all came to a resolution about Pinella, all that data, those people information? That was fine. Y'all was passing the book to this person when they left all that information.
Are you referring to the Q folders?
Yes.
Dr. Pickles can answer that.
Y'all found something about that yet? That y'all say the teachers left and y'all appointed someone to handle
Remember,
that?
this is your 3 minutes, so.
Okay.
Yes, we have finished that investigation, and so the folders were never out, they were not supposed to come outside the file cabinet they were in, because that file cabinet was not intended to be sold. They were removed by the vendor that was conducting our auction, and then that particular room was never unoccupied when I believe it was five individuals went in. There was only one individual that actually photographed.
Okay. So my next issue is a lot, but I guess I come back on this one because we're all busy. It's pertaining to the racial division we have in our school, the N-word. I know we did investigations. I know Rod. I know all these people. know they have too much going on in the schedule. It's hard to run one job. I think I told you that. I don't understand why you take the pressure when you know you can't do the job, just accept the things that our kids is lacking. I don't know if y'all kids go to these schools that might not be your concern to the central school or to the high school, or your kids at different schools, so it may not affect you as much of that situation. I seen the video. Two things. My daughter was one of the ones having a discussion about the video, and they was having a debate about the video. Okay, they was having a debate, and this is my cousin. So it's two intent. They're smart, they're intelligent, and they're intelligent because we teach them how to be intelligent, and we don't have to stick the stereotype of what people say. Okay, I know Miss Fletcher. I don't know Mr. Peterson, but what was said could have been resolved much easier. Grace is extended told us. Miss Pickles, we taught you this summer. Grace was suspended to my family, but my cousin, she had to resign on her job from a situation that happened. See, I'm just a true person, so grace was extended, and we extended the same grace, but the situation wasn't handled right. Because first of all, if something like that happened, and the N word, it can't say it was. It doesn't say how it was said. It was said. I want to be clear about that.
Finish your sentence.
Okay,
Finish your
so
sentence.
how it was said, it was said. You know, you can't baffle it. So as a teacher, as a professor, as a business owner, I'd have came out. I'd have got my boy, I'd have got her. If she was apologetic, grace is extended to all of us. We're believers. We're believers. We serve a true and living God. We just like Peter. You go kill yourself because you can't stand the truth, because the truth will set you free. So if she'd have came out, if you'd have came out, because you're the leader, that mission right there for all kids. Not for Mr. Tyrone, but Mr. Fletcher. Hold on, because you've been here a long time. Y'all let me get some more time. Because this is very important.
No, wait a minute. I have to be as fair with you as I am with Mr.
Okay, let me just finish this statement. Okay.
No, you finish this sentence.
Okay, let me finish this sentence.
Okay.
Because my pastor gave you fault. So the thing to me, if you could have made this so much better, if you would have said, Destiny, I, as a superintendent, would have reached out to her. Not because we said it don't mean nothing now, because it's not real. It's real when you come out and say, we made a mistake. Made a mistake. And so we made a mistake. This is how we handle it. But now it's gonna draw out. I didn't say that the first 2 weeks. They asked me why you ain't said nothing. Because I want to see as adults how we're gonna handle this situation. How we're gonna handle this. Everybody else saying stuff. I've been here. I've seen this. I've been in this district for so many years.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
I'll be back next week. Hey, how I get on the agenda? How can I get on the agenda?
You sign in.
No, on the agenda, so I don't have no time. I would request that. I can do that, right? Excuse me. My board member, can I request that? You my district, right? Who's my district board member? I'm 5.
I am.
So can I request that you get on the agenda to be able to speak?
Everybody else get on the agenda.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I want to be able to get on the agenda next time because there's more to this.
You can talk to the superintendent about that.
Okay,
After.
so I need to talk to her now.
The chair and the superintendent
Okay.
handle the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I'll do it. Thank you, y'all.
Yeah, we need to push right into the public right now.
Ms. Kennedy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We the family feel that the Madison County school system has failed us yet once again. To not have the decency to call to give an update on the outcome of the incident between Ms. Fletcher and the students, only to find out on social media that she still has a job but no contact with students. It was a slap in the face. Not only did the Madison County school system play in our face, Mr. Rod Williams and Ms. Barbara Thomas also called and asked, can Destiny give a statement on what happened? They never stated that there was the investigators of the ones who would take this case. They only told us that they was collecting information to write a report to give it to the ones who would be over the incident. And on to the lies that was told to save jobs is another slap in the face. Disappointed, angry at all parties that dropped the ball, and law enforcement also included. Law enforcement is supposed to protect and serve, but only protected Mrs. Fletcher on that day. Never once asked the students how they feel. Was there anything they can do? Only concern was Miss Fletcher at that time. Saying you came to address the young ladies for being loud, but you held a whole 1 minute and some second conversations with the young ladies and never addressed them being loud. It's all on recording. Had Mr. Rod Williams or Miss Barbara Thompson would have said that they were investigators, we had turned the full videos over, but no one knew that they was the investigators. Code of conduct strictly prohibits instigating, bullying, harassing, or threatening behavior, classifying such action as significant disruptions to education environment. Instigate includes encouraging, promoting, or organizing fights. I don't know about nobody else here, but in my time being in school, if you was an instigator, you was held just as accountable as anybody else that partaken. Ms. Liberian took it among herself to go was to text a lie and say that the student said that it was plotting to get her next, which is also on the full video that nobody never asked to see. And Miss Fletcher also, she left her class unattended. She left students to go confront other students. How unprofessional is that? Not only did she abandon her post, following this once again, hearsay stuff, there was no professionalism in her voice, in her tone, in her body language, until she realized that she was on camera. And Miss Fletcher's exact words was, which one of you want to talk about me saying the word nigga? She didn't ask the question. She wanted to know who wanted to talk about it. From a teacher.
Let me stop you for a minute. Are you representing the group there?
Yes,
right?
yes.
They can't give you their 3 minutes, but we can extend your 3 minutes for
Okay.
just a 2 or 3
I got
minutes.
much. No.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Okay. Yeah, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. As a student, from a teacher to a student, that sounds real intimidating. You abandon your post to come ask who want to talk about it with your hands on your hips, your leg crossed, but you instantly start crying when you once seen the camera was on. And to the superintendent, Miss Carrie Pilkey, you could have easily apologized to the family, to the students, on behalf of your unprofessional staff. But no words. I see why you didn't from the outcome. It's like you condoning their actions. We have heard an apology from everybody on the board. And we thank you. And we're grateful. Except for our superintendent. And that hurts the most. That hurts Destiny as a student. That now, 3.7 grade student. That hurts. Not knowing that you got somebody to back you. Now she don't feel like she did the right thing by coming forward. But we as a family, we're going to keep encouraging her. You do it right by standing up, and we're going to back you because it ain't over. And I'm letting y'all know that it's not over.
Thank you. Reverend Jerry Alexander.
That was a plot. I'm sorry. That was a plot about the burner factory. That's what you feel. Y'all left y'all part of it.
Good afternoon.
I turned it off.
Board,
Thanks, guys.
Madam Superintendent. I just want to follow up on some questions that I had in the last meeting pertaining to Ms. Fletcher. I got the answer to that. I'm assuming when I heard the investigation was over, it has been concluded. My follow-up questions today, may have got the answer to that, is has the superintendent, have you apologized to the family? Have you attempted to reach out to the students? On the survivor, I expressed that at PTSD, and I expressed that how that works. Is there any resolution to help them along the process? I've heard a lot about God, I've heard a lot about another students, but I haven't seen any policy where the student comes first. I've seen the protection of the teacher, but no policy where the student comes first. Madam Superintendent, I just want to say this. This is an incident that won't stop when you leave. It festers like a sore. It'll follow you after retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a motion to close the meeting?
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.